The story starts with a little girl locked in a dog cage, staring helplessly at dog food after spending 10 years in this hellhole. Turns out her dad is finally back after a 10-year absence, stepping off his private jet with a dead serious look on his face. The moment he arrives, he thinks of his daughter, her name echoing in his mind as he announces his return to the homeland. One of his loyal followers steps forward to greet him. The subordinate kneels out of respect, letting his master know the car is ready and asking if they should inform the city mayor or the military commander for an official welcome. The dad shuts that down, ordering him not to tell a soul. He makes it clear he's back to fulfill his duty as both a husband and a father. He firmly calls his subordinate to lay down a new order, telling him to deploy his men to hide in the shadows. The subordinate obeys immediately and gets to work. Meanwhile, the poor little girl is getting brutally beaten, begging for help and wondering in despair who could ever save her from this daily torture. Heartless guards stand right outside her cage. One guard harshly scolds her, throwing the worst insults her way. He threatens her with even more torture if she doesn't shut up. Complete terror and utter despair wash over her face. The dad arrives at his old family mansion, only to be shocked by a name change. He notices the sign hanging up bears the name of a completely different family. His eyes burn with pure rage at the sight of it. Two guards from the usurping family walk out to confront the intruder, mocking him and calling him a beggar. They order him to get lost immediately, warning him not to defile their master's land. The dad calmly but sternly states that this place belongs to his family. He calls them out for putting another family's name on his property. He demands the guards tell him where his wife is. The guards exchange smug, mocking looks, telling him his family was wiped out 10 years ago and that their family took over everything. He asks again, his voice dripping with absolute threat. He lunges at one of the guards, grabbing him by the throat with insane, superhuman strength. His eyes flash with a terrifying thirst for revenge. He roars in his face, demanding to know his wife's location right now. The other guard drops to the ground, completely paralyzed by fear. The terrified guard confesses that the wife is being forced to clean toilets at a club owned by their family, adding that their daughter is held hostage in the backyard. The dad ruthlessly finishes off the guard in his grip. He tosses the lifeless body to the ground and rushes toward his next destination. The scene cuts back to the starving little girl staring at the dog food after being deprived of meals for 7 straight days. A fierce dog approaches to defend its food from her. She trembles in fear, backing away inside her cage to escape it. Suddenly, the dad bursts in, furious and roaring at the top of his lungs. He obliterates the dog in one brutal, bloody strike. Tears well up in his eyes as he looks at his daughter. The terrified girl trembles, having never seen him before. Out of sheer fear and not knowing who her savior is, she calls him Mister, begging him not to hit her. She swears to him that she didn't steal any food. In a heartbreaking display of submission, she offers to bark like a dog just to please him, and the broken girl actually starts making barking sounds. The dad lets out a thunderous roar that shakes the whole place from sheer agony right as lightning strikes. He rushes toward the cage, smashing it apart with his bare hands. He opens it up to rescue his own flesh and blood, trying to comfort his shivering daughter. He gently tells her that he's her dad, assuring her that her nightmare is finally over now that he's back. She hesitates to touch him, terrified of getting his clothes dirty with her filthy hands. She quickly wipes her stained hands on her own clothes. He pulls her into a tight hug and unleashes a massive cry of absolute rage. His subordinate answers his call instantly, carrying his daughter. The dad orders his special signal to be activated, deploying the 1st Legion of the Northern Army and calling for an immediate airborne drop over the city. He demands a total lockdown so tight not even a fly can escape, ordering a massive investigation to find the culprits while furiously wondering who dared to harm his wife and daughter. He declares his intention to take complete control of the city, swearing that blood will be washed with blood. A terrifying light signal shoots up into the sky to execute his orders. It forms a massive skull shape, illuminating the clouds. The city mayor spots the signal right from his office window. The skull signal is clear as day, striking absolute terror into everyone's hearts. The mayor's eyes widen in sheer shock and horror at what he's witnessing. His wine glass slips from his hand, shattering on the floor from pure panic. Realizing the extreme danger looming over them, cold sweat pours down his terrified face. Recognizing it as the Emperor's personal signal, he screams at his men to get his car ready immediately and demands quick contact with the station military forces. He orders the entire military force to mobilize, and his assistant takes the orders and gets ready to move. Tanks and armored vehicles start flooding the city streets. Heavily armed special forces completely lock down the airport. They deploy further to secure all train stations. Highways are shut down, and martial law is declared all over the city by the Emperor's decree. The scene highlights a total citywide lockdown under martial law, with strict restrictions stopping anyone from entering or leaving the besieged city. Cut to a luxurious banquet hall where the guests are standing around, completely clueless about the impending disaster. A guy in a white suit shows up, laughing mockingly, totally indifferent to what's coming. Suddenly, our MC storms the place, carrying his heavily injured little girl in his arms. The young guy, Wu Tianhao, asks in utter shock who this intruder is, furious that someone dared crash his family party, screaming for security to step in right now. Security guards surround our hero from all sides, getting ready to attack, threatening and warning him not to cause trouble on their master's turf. They charge at him with full intent to kill. He brutally hits one of them back in response to their insults. He drops the guard to the floor in a split second, all while still holding his daughter. He glares around furiously, looking for Wu Tianhao, asking with a chilling calmness who that man is among the crowd. The crowd watches anxiously in dead silence and pure fear. The young guy confidently points to himself, announcing his identity. Our MC approaches with a look that spells trouble, smiling coldly and saying he actually likes this challenge, announcing to everyone that he's Nian's father. The guy bursts out laughing, assuming the MC has been rotting in prison for the past decade, mocking him as just some ex-con from a labor camp. He taunts him, asking if he enjoyed seeing his daughter locked up in a dog cage, doubling down on his arrogance and bragging about his horrific deed. The MC's eyes blaze with a terrifying, genuine fury, getting ready for absolute vengeance. The guy's expression shifts as he starts to look shocked by the reaction. Our hero reaches out toward him in a direct, threatening motion. He slams him to the ground and ruthlessly crushes him. He tells him he originally planned to end his life quickly without pain, but adds with a sinister look that plans have changed. Grabbing him by the face, he lets him know that mercy killing is officially off the table. He kicks him with insane power, sending him flying like a rag doll. The guy slams into the wall so hard it leaves deep cracks before he passes out cold. Shock and horror fill the faces of the crowd at the sheer brutality of the scene. One of the guests warns the MC to stop this reckless behavior. Another man chimes in, reminding him they live in a lawful society, bragging about his lineage and noting his dad as the head of the city's Chamber of Commerce. He warns our hero of severe consequences if he dares touch them, threatening that the entire city's business elite won't let him get away with it if they're harmed. The MC completely ignores their empty threats and calmly picks up a knife from the table. With insane skill, he flicks it like lightning right at the talkative man. The knife embeds itself deeply, a harsh punishment for his running mouth. The hero coldly turns away as if nothing even happened, leaving everyone totally dumbfounded. Waking up from his blackout, the young guy realizes how bad the situation is and decides to call for backup. Panicking, he grabs his phone and calls his uncle, demanding he bring military forces to the hotel immediately, lying that someone is unjustly attacking him. Armed forces arrive rapidly, setting up a total blockade around the hotel. The city's deputy military commander steps forward with a stern face to rescue his nephew. The soldiers aim their rifles all at once at the trapped hero in the hall. The commander barks at him, calling him a reckless criminal. He accuses him of committing violent crimes in broad daylight right in front of everyone, ordering him to kneel and put his hands behind his head in surrender. Our MC stands there without a single hint of fear, completely ignoring the death threat. Soldiers surround him from every angle, weapons raised and ready to fire. He just scoffs with absolute confidence despite the intense standoff. He slowly reaches into his coat, telling the commander to keep his eyes wide open for what's coming out next. He pulls out a mysterious badge and asks him if he knows what it is. He tosses it down, letting it rest on the carpet right in front of everyone. The commander's eyes bulge in pure horror the second he takes a closer look at the details. He visibly shakes, losing the ability to speak from the absolute shock. He stammers, utterly unable to believe what's right in front of his eyes. He realizes he's looking at the legendary badge of the Underworld King. Still completely clueless, the young guy asks his uncle why he's stopping, stupidly wondering why he hesitates to give the order and urging him to just shoot and kill the MC already. He looks down on him, calling him a helpless convict. The commander completely loses his nerve, dropping to his knees, utterly paralyzed by fear. He holds up the badge with both hands in deep respect, announcing his rank, bowing his head in total submission to offer his loyalty to the king. The crowd is completely shell-shocked, freezing in place upon hearing that majestic title. The women in the hall pale in pure terror as the MC's identity clicks, the crowd whispering in fear that this man is the terrifying ruler of the North. Total despair takes over their faces as they realize their doom, knowing their fate is sealed and escape is impossible. The guy on the floor mutters in denial, claiming it's a trick and repeatedly screaming in shock that this can't be real. He stupidly shouts that the badge is fake and that the MC is just playing them. He tells his uncle the MC is just a good actor trying to save his skin, ordering him again to ignore the trick and kill him on the spot. The MC casually sits back, giving the broken commander a final choice, reminding him of his nephew's insulting words and how the brat just arrogantly demanded his execution. He addresses the deputy commander by his official title with a subtle threat, asking for his take on how he plans to handle this complicated mess. The commander freezes, and the guests completely lose their minds from the insane tension radiating from the MC. He slowly stands up, his face burning with absolute rage directed at the nephew who just ruined his life. He tightly grips a wooden chair, ready to discipline him for his utter stupidity. The military commander smashes the wooden chair hard against his idiot nephew's leg as a punishment. He keeps brutally beating the guy, completely ignoring his agonizing screams. The commander snaps at his nephew, asking if he was trying to get him killed with his reckless antics, screaming in pure fury at how the brat dared insult the great underworld king. The bloodied brat looks up at his uncle in total shock and pain, unable to process anything as blood leaks from his mouth. Having vented his rage on his nephew, the commander stands at attention, admitting to our hero his utter failure in raising the kid properly. He drops to his knees, begging the MC for forgiveness based on his long years of military service protecting Yun City. He prostrates in absolute terror, pleading for his life, staying down in total humiliation as he awaits the MC's judgment. Shushing the room while cradling his daughter, the MC gives the commander a cold stare, warning him not to make a peep, quietly explaining that his little girl is sound asleep. The commander looks up in pure anxiety, waiting to hear the hero's verdict. The MC announces he'll spare his life and bypass the execution, but strictly adds that physical punishment for this disrespect is mandatory, ordering him to clean up the entire messy crime scene. He decides to postpone settling the score with the abusive brat until he gets back. Giving a final threatening look, he indicates he'll deal with him later, ordering them to keep the guy alive so he can suffer instead of getting a quick death. The commander stays kneeling, listening intently while our hero plans his next move, firmly declaring he's heading straight to the Imperial Club to take back his wife. He quietly leaves the venue, cradling his sleeping daughter in his arms. The scene cuts to a filthy restroom where a woman is forced to scrub toilets under the watchful eye of a cruel manager, a fat supervisor screaming at her face to clean faster. Utter exhaustion and misery cover the crying woman's face as she handles this degrading work. The supervisor threatens her with severe consequences if the whole restroom floor isn't finished tonight, making it clear she'll be starved as extra punishment if she slips up. The broken woman submissively apologizes, gesturing to her disfigured face, promising to finish the job as fast as possible. She goes right back to scrubbing the toilet aggressively despite everyone around mocking her. A shady, obese man suddenly barges into the restroom along with a gang of thugs. The fat guy smirks sinisterly upon locking eyes with the helpless woman, mocking her facial scars while making a revolting comment about her great figure. The creep approaches, trying to force her to submit, ordering her to stop cleaning the toilets immediately. He arrogantly puts his hand on her shoulder, demanding she tag along with them for drinks. The woman jolts in terror, pushing his hand away and trying to back off. She steps back, trembling with fear and refusing to let him touch her. The brutal thug slaps her hard across the face for rejecting him, knocking her straight to the floor. The fat guy loses his temper over her rejection, viewing it as an unforgivable insult, screaming threats to teach her a painful lesson for defying him. Blood starts dripping from her mouth due to the heavy blow she just took. Her shaking hand reaches out to grab a small knife lying on the floor. She stares at the knife in absolute despair, thinking about ending her long suffering and leaving her daughter behind, silently weeping and apologizing to her little Nian because she just can't take it anymore. In the nick of time, the supervisor is sent flying into the restroom door with insane force from a sudden, massive kick. Both the fat guy and the wife are stunned as she crashes onto the floor in the hallway following the violent breach. Furious and dumbfounded, the man points at the person who dared crash the place, screaming to know the identity of this intruder. Our MC stands there, face clouded with absolute rage, as the fat guy snaps at him for ruining his fun. The thug tries to play tough, asking if the MC is trying to scare him, bragging about his connections to the notorious Black Dragon gang, thinking it would terrify him. Annoyed by the guy's running mouth, the MC considers him nothing more than a noisy pest. He pinches a sharp metal rod between his fingers, getting ready for a swift execution. The projectile pierces right through the fat guy's forehead, dropping him dead instantly with his eyes wide open in sheer shock. The two remaining thugs panic completely, scrambling to run for their lives. The MC points his finger at them in a lightning-fast, lethal motion. A terrifying blast of pure energy shoots from his hand, hitting the targets with pinpoint accuracy. The fatal blast tears right through the two guards as they try to bolt. They crash to the floor instantly, while the MC coldly wonders aloud who gave them permission to leave. In a bone-chilling tone, he orders everyone to kneel and stay completely still, warning that anyone who dares move will be killed on the spot, his eyes glowing with deadly fury as he takes absolute control. He walks over to his wife, who is hiding her face thinking he's a club official, promising to keep cleaning. The terrified wife begs him through heavy tears not to cut her pay. Crying, she explains that her little girl hasn't eaten yet, and she needs to provide for her. The MC's heart breaks completely, and he calls out her name in absolute sorrow, gently reassuring her that he is her husband. She looks up, analyzing his features, and finally realizes exactly who is standing before her. She shrinks back in shame, trying to hide her scarred face, begging him not to look at her. She weeps bitterly, convincing herself that he must have mistaken her for someone else because of how hideous she looks now. Our hero pulls her into a gentle hug, his eyes burning with absolute rage as he confirms his identity and tells her he is the sovereign. He swears to her that he will protect her from this exact moment onward. With a look full of pure vengeance, he promises to make anyone who hurt her pay the ultimate price, declaring his decision to completely wipe out the entire underworld to atone for her suffering. Heavily armed members of the Black Dragon gang show up after hearing the commotion, demanding to know who has the balls to stir up trouble in their club, the gang leader stepping forward arrogantly, assuming this intruder is just tired of living and wants to die. The wife panics at the sight of them, warning the MC of the danger and begging him to run immediately to save his life from the gang. Terrified for him, she warns that these guys belong to the ruthless Black Dragon gang. Our MC gives his wife a calm look to put her anxious mind at ease. He gently asks her to close her eyes so she won't have to witness what's about to go down. The gang members rush into the restroom, weapons drawn and ready to slaughter the outsider. The hero cracks a terrifying demonic smile that shows his pure intent to slaughter them all, hinting that tonight marks a massive shift as he decides it's time to completely purge Yun City's underworld. He notes to himself that tonight, the underworld will witness its true master take over while the tyrants are completely annihilated. The Black Dragon gang leader, Scarface Liu, shows up with a ruthless look. The dead bodies of the supervisor and the fat guy are revealed, lying on the floor drenched in pools of blood. He addresses our MC with total contempt. The gang boss mockingly praises the MC's fighting skills, aiming his gun at him while asking if he even knows who owns this place. Our hero calmly stares at the gun, giving them a strict 3-second warning, telling the gang to back off if they don't want to die, ordering them to beat it right now. Liu and his thugs burst into hysterical laughter, mocking his threat. He mockingly asks his men if they heard what this guy just said, laughing at the fact that the MC is telling him to leave. One of the thugs laughs derisively at the hero's sheer confidence. The MC stands his ground, completely unfazed by their laughter, giving them a freezing cold stare. Liu loses his Senate temper, snapping that nobody in Yun City has ever dared talk to him like that before. Our hero gets ready to rumble, standing completely alone against the whole gang. Liu rallies his gang brothers to get ready, ordering them to swarm the MC and take him out. The hero looks at them with pure disdain, not seeing them as a real threat at all, dismissing them as weak bugs that aren't even worth his time. He moves like lightning, lunging at Liu with a surprise attack. He lands a devastating, heavy blow that sends one of the thugs crashing down. He unleashes his terrifying power right in front of the gang, completely shocking them with his speed. He obliterates the entire gang in a matter of seconds using overwhelming, massive energy. Liu is absolutely shell-shocked when he realizes the MC can actually project internal energy, realizing in pure terror that the guy standing before him is a Grandmaster-level martial artist. The gang boss instantly drops to his knees, begging for mercy and submissively apologizing, claiming he just didn't recognize his high status. The MC looms over the kneeling Liu, demanding to know who exactly ordered them to harm his wife, Su Yun. Stuttering in fear, Liu confesses that the Su family is behind it all, confirming that they are the ones who gave the orders. The MC breaks a cold smile, telling Liu he'll spare his miserable life. He orders him to deliver a crystal-clear message to his masters, specifically targeting the Su family elders, calling them dead men walking. He notes that tomorrow happens to be the Su family matriarch's 71st birthday celebration. He announces his intention to personally show up and congratulate her at the party. With a menacing look, he mentions that the birthday gift he's bringing will be legendary, making it clear it'll be the last thing they ever receive in their lives. Liu listens to the orders, still completely shaken, profusely thanking the MC for keeping him alive. The hero gently asks his wife, Yun, to open her eyes now that the fight is over. She slowly opens her eyes, trying to process what just happened. She's completely stunned, barely able to believe the sight of the utterly defeated gang around them. He gently takes off his coat, wrapping it around her trembling shoulders. He holds her hand to calm her down and bring peace to her heart. Looking genuinely into her eyes, he calls her his wife, asking her to come back home with him. Holding hands, the couple walks out, leaving the dark venue behind. Cut to the outside of the first hospital of Yun City at night. Inside the ER, doctors are frantically trying to save little Nyan's life. Our hero stands there, calling out her name in absolute grief, begging his little girl to hold on and push through this ordeal. The military commander steps up from behind to deliver his report to the sovereign. Kneeling respectfully, he informs the MC that the child's medical lab results are out. Our MC turns around, his face tight with pure anxiety, waiting to hear his daughter's condition. The commander explains that the girl is severely malnourished, adding that her body is covered in deep soft tissue bruises. He continues the report, noting she also suffered a mild concussion. Hesitating for a moment, he points out an even more dangerous issue, revealing they found a strange substance in her blood, an insidious chronic toxin known as the blood demon poison. He explains that this poison is typically used as a core ingredient to refine mystical medicines, causing the MC to clench his fist in pure, explosive rage at the shocking news. His eyes burn with absolute fury as he asks in a chilling, demonic voice who dared poison his daughter. The commander confidently replies that the Su family is responsible for this horrific act. He explains they did it to suck up to the Medicine King Valley Sect, adding that the family literally sold the little girl off to be used as a human cauldron for refining medicine just to make a profit. He adds that the payoff was a share of longevity pills, making the MC squeeze his fist so insanely hard with rage that drops of blood actually start dripping out. He curses the Su family, spitting pure venom and threats, swearing to unleash his absolute wrath on the Medicine King Valley Sect as well. He issues an emergency order to the commander to contact the Northern Command, ordering the immediate deployment of the Dragon Fang heavy artillery unit. He reveals his plan for a full military intervention during tomorrow's birthday banquet, swearing he'll turn the Su family mansion into a mass grave. The next day at the Su family estate, everyone is celebrating the grandmother's 75th birthday in a cheerful atmosphere. Flashback to a secret meeting between the grandmother and representatives of the Medicine King Valley Sect, where the old lady asks if everything regarding the little girl is ready. The young master of the Medicine King Valley Sect cracks a highly suspicious, evil smirk. Placing the medicine vials on the table, he notes his father's birthday is approaching, telling her to rest assured that the plan is going exactly as agreed. She smiles slyly, confirming the brat is currently rotting in the hospital, guaranteeing the young master that the girl will never escape. They continue discussing their under-the-table deal to hand over the girl as a tool. One of the attendees confirms their absolute commitment to the pre-arranged deal. The grandmother shows her blatant greed, itching to get her hands on the longevity pills. The young master reassures her they'll keep their promise once the job is successfully done, adding that the Su family will gain massive benefits from this partnership. Back to the present. A massive military armored vehicle completely smashes through the Su family mansion's gates out of nowhere, violently crashing the party. The hero shows up at the Su family mansion, making the guards question who he is. One guard strictly tells him that today is Grandma Su's 71st birthday celebration. He blocks the hero and his companion, making it clear that off-limits means off-limits for outsiders. He furiously tells him to beat it right now. The hero just stands there, cold as ice, looking down on the guards with pure contempt. Suddenly, his companion steps in and grabs the rude guard by the throat. The companion lands a massive punch, knocking the guard straight to the ground. The guard's body literally flies and crashes hard. The hero and his companion confidently burst inside, leaving everyone completely shocked. Grandma Su asks with absolute fury who's making all this noise. The hall doors shatter to pieces as more guards are thrown inside with brutal force. The guards crash onto the dining tables, causing total panic and ruining the party. The hero walks forward with steady, majestic steps. He glares at everyone in the room with a sharp, terrifying look. She fiercely scolds him, calling him an insolent attacker. She screams, condemned that he dared to ruin her birthday party. She calls out loudly for her men to step in. She orders her guards to arrest him immediately. The hero pulls out some papers and demands that the evidence of the Su family's crimes against his wife and daughter be shown. Photos are thrown, showing his wife being humiliated while cleaning toilets. A photo of his abused little girl is displayed, exposing their heinous acts to everyone. The guests look at the scattered photos in complete shock and disbelief. The guests whisper in disbelief, shocked by the cruelty of these actions. Grandma loses her mind, accusing him of slander and trying to ruin their reputation. The hero calmly decides to list the details of their horrific crimes. He reminds them that the victim is the family's own granddaughter. He asks bitterly about the living hell his child had to endure for a whole decade. He assures Grandma that deep down, she knows the horrible truth perfectly well. Signs of tension and distress appear on her face as her secrets are exposed. The hero keeps describing her suffering and how she was disfigured and bullied. His anger flares up again the moment he mentions his daughter's name, Nian Nian. He repeatedly states with sorrow that this child is their own flesh and blood. He directly accuses the family of poisoning his innocent daughter. He exposes their vile intention of using the child as a tool to manufacture medicine. He confronts Grandma with a piercing look, asking if she still thinks this is just slander. He points his finger at her, declaring that today is the day of reckoning. He vows to take justice from the Su family by force. Suddenly, the young master from the Medicine King Valley steps in, laughing mockingly. He shows how much he is enjoying and interested in this tense situation. Grandma finally realizes that the man standing before her is the legendary ruler of hell. The young master mocks the hero, calling him trash who disappeared 10 years ago. He expresses surprise that he's even alive right now. He looks down on him, Thinking he poses no threat alone, he challenges the hero, questioning his nerve to face his powerful sect. The hero turns his angry gaze toward the representative of the Medicine King Valley. He mutters coldly with a threat, accepting this new challenge. A glass jar appears, containing the child's blood that was brutally extracted. He threatens everyone that they will pay with their lives for their crimes today. The young master bursts into hysterical laughter, completely ignoring the hero's threats. He keeps insulting him, calling him an outcast. He dismisses his words as total nonsense. He orders his masked fighters to attack him. He orders his guards to rip the hero to pieces. The masked fighters rush with their weapons toward the hero in a fierce attack. The hero counters the attack flawlessly and with total ease. He displays incredible fighting power, taking down the attackers one by one. He successfully wipes out all the fighters, knocking them to the ground in a matter of seconds. Signs of pure terror appear on the young master's face after his men are defeated. He trembles in fear, wondering about the true power of this monster standing before him. The hero stares at the young master with an icy glance, completely devoid of mercy. A new group of black-robed fighters appears, drawing their swords. The new fighters get into stance, ready to attack the hero. He announces in a firm voice that anyone who tries to block his way will die. Outside, massive military tanks and armored vehicles appear, surrounding the place. Heavy cannon barrels are aimed at the mansion, ready to execute the ruler of Hell's orders. The companion informs his master that the heavy artillery unit has taken position and is ready to step in. He confirms that the forces are waiting for the signal to open fire at any moment. The hero gives the signal to execute his harsh judgment on the family. He lists their crimes, starting with using his child as a medical tool. He continues his accusations, condemning them for conspiring with the Medicine King Valley. He adds attempted murder to his list of charges. He passes his final judgment in the name of the ruler of Hell on all members of the Su family. The hero's men force Grandma to her knees with brute force, declaring that her sin is unforgivable. She kneels submissively after being gripped by real terror of her inevitable fate. She begs with crocodile tears, reminding him of the family bond that connects them. She begs him in tears not to punish her so harshly. She collapses to the ground, begging him to have mercy on the Su family. He fiercely scolds her, asking how she only just remembered that she's his grandmother. He coldly rejects her pleas, emphasizing that it's too late for regret. He raises his hand to give the final order for punishment. The hero's men pin Grandma in place, preparing for the decisive moment. She surrenders to her fate, lowering her head in complete despair. She raises her head again with features mixing shock and anger. The young master crawls on the ground in humiliation, begging the ruler of Hell to spare his life. He admits his mistake and his stupidity in challenging the hero. He tries to use his sect's name as leverage to save his neck. The hero looks with pure contempt at the young master who is begging him for mercy. He submissively offers the jar of the child's blood, hoping to survive. The hero threatens his enemies that they will soon join those who went before them. The young master takes his last breath as a green toxic substance flows from his mouth and eyes. He drops dead on the ground due to the lethal poison. The hero finally reunites with his wife and his sleeping daughter inside the hospital room. He gives her a definitive promise to restore the beauty that was stolen from her face. The wife looks at the scars on her face with sadness and hope at the same time. He leaves the room to receive a secret report from his undercover subordinate. The subordinate informs his master that there are parties trying to obstruct their plans. He confirms that someone is pulling strings in secret to prevent them from getting the cure. The hero's eyes flare with deadly rage, vowing to crush anyone who dares to stand in his way. The scene shifts to the luxurious Grand Hyatt Hotel, where conspiracies are being cooked up. Top businessmen gather in a locked hall to plan how to get rid of him. The meeting is led by a fat man showing off extreme wealth and arrogance. One of the attendees wipes anxious sweat from his forehead, terrified of the hero's power. The fat man scolds him, telling him not to be afraid of his reckless behavior. He describes the Su family as stupid for confronting him directly. He rejects the idea of a direct physical clash with someone he calls a barbarian. He assures the attendees that they are civilized men and their methods are different. He explains that their real weapon is controlling capital. He adds that their vast network of connections is the source of their true power. He asks mockingly if the hero's physical strength will do him any good against their influence. He continues his mockery, wondering if his fist can fight money. He doubts his ability to challenge the economic lifeline of the entire city. The attendees agree with him, confirming his words with absolute confidence. One of them looks down on him, describing him as just a reckless guy with nothing but muscles. Everyone laughs mockingly, considering the power of his fist no threat to them at all. Laughter of malice and mockery fills the meeting hall. A man wearing glasses agrees with them, believing he will definitely fail. He explains that the hero's attempt to prove his presence in the city will crash against their influence. He stresses that it's impossible for him to succeed without submitting to their economic authority first. They mock his attempt to buy a rare herb to cure his wife. They keep making sarcastic jokes about his desire to treat his wife's disfigured face. The man with glasses laughs hard, considering his efforts nothing but illusions. He mockingly tells him to keep dreaming his impossible dreams. The meeting hall door suddenly shatters with massive force, terrifying everyone. The fat man's eyes widen in shock and disbelief at this sudden break-in. He freezes in his place, unable to process what's happening before his eyes. Pure terror takes over him to the point where he holds his breath. Panic and chaos spread among all the shocked attendees. The hero enters with confident steps, followed by his massive subordinate. He asks them with cold sarcasm if they are enjoying their pleasant chat. The fat man gets furious after realizing his identity. He screams in his face, condemning his immense boldness. He rudely accuses him of trespassing on their private property without permission. He calls out at the top of his lungs, demanding security guards step in immediately. He screams again, calling for his men to arrest him and his subordinate. The hero's subordinate tells him with absolute calmness that all the guards have been taken care of. He orders him to stop the annoying screaming because no one is coming to answer his call. He explains to him that the 100 guards downstairs are fast asleep right now. The terror of the attendees worsens as they realize they have zero protection. The fat man resorts to direct threats as a last option. He threatens the hero with a firm tone, hoping to scare him and force him to back down. He tells him that any harm done to him will bring disastrous consequences. He threatens that the stock market of the entire city will collapse by tomorrow morning if anything happens to him. He adds threateningly that commodity prices will skyrocket to choke the city. He warns him of the wrath of top leaders who will step in to punish whoever caused this chaos. He assures him that his life will definitely end if he dares to make any stupid move. The hero completely ignores his threats and walks toward him with calm, indifferent steps. He announces with a terrifying calmness that he hates two things in his life more than anything else. He explains that the first thing is anyone daring to touch his wife. He continues his speech with a sharp look that reveals his firm intention for revenge. He leans toward him to tell him that the second thing is trying to make him submit using money. The hero tells him that he will play along in his economic game that he brags about. He declares his direct challenge to them in their own field full of money. He asks for just 1 minute to execute his destructive plan. He gives a firm order to his subordinate to declare bankruptcy for everyone in the hall immediately. The subordinate obeys the order instantly and gets ready to execute his master's commands. He opens his laptop and starts hacking into the financial systems with expert skill. The attendees mock the hero's threat after seeing their stock indicators still rising steadily. The fat man bursts into hysterical laughter, thinking the hero is playing a stupid joke on them. He continues his provocative laughter while lighting his cigar, completely indifferent to the threat. He asks him mockingly if he realizes the size of the wealth they possess together. He asks sarcastically about the total market value of their massive companies. Mocking laughter echoes in the hall, looking down on the hero's ability to affect them financially. The hero's subordinate hits the decisive execution button on his laptop to launch the economic attack. The financial indicator screens behind them suddenly change, flashing alarming colors that warn of disaster and collapse. The fat man's phone suddenly rings, cutting off their laughter, and it turns out the caller is his account manager. He answers the phone with features covered in tension and anxiety. He receives a massive shock when the manager tells him about a sudden financial disaster. The manager tells him in a panicked voice that things have spun completely out of control. He explains that a disaster just hit the stock market. He explains that a mysterious and terrifying financial power estimated in trillions has suddenly appeared. He adds in horror that this power targeted their stocks and carried out massive short-selling operations. The manager confirms that the value of their stocks has completely collapsed, hitting the absolute minimum allowed limit. The fat man realizes the scale of the disaster and breaks into a sweat from the sheer shock. His cigar drops from his hand while signs of shock cover the faces of the rest of the attendees. Everyone freezes in their spots out of terror after their fortunes evaporated in a matter of seconds. The hero smiles victoriously and asks coldly who dared to say that he wouldn't be able to buy the cure for his wife. One of them drops to his knees, begging for forgiveness from the hero. He admits his mistake while prostrating in humiliation at his feet. The hero's mocking laughter echoes at the man's submission before him. He offers him a box containing the millennial ice cicada as a ransom for his life. The man begs in tears to let him live. The hero calmly reaches out his hand to take the luxurious box. The box is opened to reveal the glowing millennial ice cicada inside. The hero smiles mockingly, pointing out that he should have been this sensible from the start. He continues, asking why destroy his wealth as long as he's capable of submitting. All the businessmen in the hall kneel down, submitting before the hero. The fat man keeps crying and repeatedly admitting his mistake. He justifies his stance by saying he was just executing someone else's orders. He confesses that the Jiao family from the provincial capital is the one who instigated him to do this. The man remains broken on the ground while muffled laughs are heard in the hall. The hero's features turn serious the moment he hears the Jiao family's name. He coldly thinks about the family located in the provincial capital. The massive subordinate opens the hall door, and the hero orders his subordinate to publish an important and immediate announcement. He announces the establishment of the Hell Emperor Chamber of Commerce starting today. He announces his decision to completely restructure all industries in Yun City. Pointing to the fate of these submissive men, he decides to punish them based on their greed and extreme love for money. He orders his subordinate to kick them out to the streets to become homeless beggars. Deep regret takes over the broken businessmen in the hall. The men scream in absolute despair after losing all their fortunes. The leader of the Jiao family appears sitting in the dark, messing with iron balls in his hand. He stops moving the balls after learning about the failure of his plan. The leader squeezes the metal balls in anger after this failure. He realizes that his men in Yun City have been completely defeated. He crushes the metal balls with his hands in rage, calling them trash. He utters the hero's name with threats and deep hatred. He concludes that things have become much more complicated than he expected. He decides to use hitmen from the dark web to get rid of the hero. The scene returns to the hero sitting and merging energy to make the youth restoration pill for his wife. He focuses his inner energy in his hands to form the healing pill. The magical pill forms, radiating powerful energy. He heads toward the room where his wife is. The wife looks hopeless and unable to believe the possibility of restoring her face's beauty. She calls the hero's name with sadness and heartbreak. She asks in fear if this cure will really work. The hero places his hand on her shoulder to give her reassurance. He gently asks her to move her hand away from her disfigured face. He assures her with absolute confidence to trust him and his abilities. The wife moves her hand away slowly and hesitantly, still afraid. The hero holds a jar containing the glowing magical liquid. He dips his fingers into the glowing healing liquid. He wipes the liquid over the deep scars, asking her to bear the pain for a little bit. The wife closes her eyes tightly during the liquid's reaction to regenerate her skin cells. The scars begin to gradually fade away as her skin keeps glowing. She opens her eyes to find that her face is completely healed and back to normal. She is stunned, unable to believe that her features have been fully restored. She touches her smooth face, and tears well up in her eyes from sheer joy. She asks in disbelief if this reflection is really her true face. The hero stands behind her, showing his admiration for the brilliant result of the treatment. He looks at her with love, confirming that she is his crowned queen. She looks at him with a gaze full of deep gratitude and emotion. A sniper's bullet suddenly shatters the room window, heading right toward them. The lethal bullet goes straight toward the head of the oblivious wife. The hero catches the bullet with 2 fingers at the last second with superhuman skill. The wife freezes in her place out of sheer terror after realizing what just happened. The hero holds the bullet coldly, considering stopping it was as easy as drinking water. He calms his wife down, his eyes burning with suppressed rage. He describes the unknown sniper as just an annoying bug seeking its own doom. He tells his wife that he will go to crush this intrusive bug. The hero's eyes flash with a terrifying red glow due to his extreme anger at her being targeted. The scene shows through the sniper's scope as he watches the hero from afar. The sniper is shocked by the hero's disappearance from the scope lens. Signs of confusion and bewilderment appear on the face of the sniper positioned on the roof. He wonders in disbelief how his bullet missed the guaranteed target. He goes back to looking for the hero through his rifle scope. He jumps in terror when he hears a voice asking him who he's looking for. The sniper's eyes widen in extreme terror after realizing someone is right behind him. He turns around to find the hero standing directly behind him. He stammers, asking in terror how he reached this high roof. He realizes with shock the impossibility of climbing a 30-story building this fast. The hero lights a cigarette calmly, pointing out that how he climbed isn't important right now. He blows out his cigarette smoke, explaining that what matters is what comes next. He asks the sniper in a deadly tone who gave him the nerve to target them. He scolds him for his impudent interference and bothering his wife while she was restoring her beauty. The sniper gathers his courage and decides to take the initiative to attack the hero. He pulls a sharp knife trying to surprise the hero with a quick stab. The hero blocks the attack with total ease and grabs his opponent's wrist. He delivers a violent kick that knocks the sniper to the ground hard. The sniper is in deep pain from the hit, but he screams in the hero's face in defiance. He drops to his knees due to the powerful kick. The hero mocks his opponent's weakness, wondering if this is the strength of the dark web's top killers. He expresses his disappointment in his level, calling him very weak. The sniper is shocked by the hero's knowledge of his identity and his affiliation with the dark web. He tries to threaten the hero, relying on the scary reputation of his criminal organization. The hired sniper starts making his threats, thinking he's in a position of power. He claims that killing him won't benefit the hero at all. He explains that the mission has already been issued and cannot be cancelled. He stresses that the assassination attempts will continue non-stop until the target is achieved. Then he threatens the hero with severe consequences if he dares to hurt him, warning him that the entire dark web killers will hunt him down. The hero meets these threats with a mocking smile and total coldness while smoking his cigarette, repeating the web's name with obvious mockery and describing its members as just rats hiding in the sewers. The sniper gets extremely angry and calls the hero arrogant and conceited, continuing his shouting that the hero doesn't realize the size of the power standing behind it. He reveals that the sponsor who hired him paid a massive amount estimated at 100 million. He tells the hero that his head has become highly wanted and a prize for everyone. The hero smiles coldly, looking at this amount placed as a price on his life. He pulls out his phone and decides to teach the sniper a lesson about the reality of this web. He promises to make him see with his own eyes what will happen to the belief he brags about, pointing out that his blind faith in it will shatter now. He assures him that he is now standing before the real ruler. He proceeds to use his phone to prove to him how ridiculous his threats are. Signs of shock and confusion appear on the panicked sniper's face. He stammers in shock, asking if the hero is a member of it. The hero displays his phone screen, which shows his account as a VIP member. He calmly taps a button on the web's interface to execute a certain command. The scene shifts to a foreign country where its main headquarters is located. One of its programmers screams in a state of extreme panic. The giant computer screens show a sudden hack symbolized by a red dragon. Panic spreads among all the workers in the control room. The programmer asks in shock about the nature of this destructive cyber attack. Pointing his trembling hand toward the screens, unable to believe what's happening, he instantly realizes that their invincible security system is facing a sweeping breach. He backs down from his conclusion, showing even greater terror than what he saw. He quickly asks his colleagues to look at the hacker's identity that appeared on the screen. The founder of the web appears holding a cup of tea amid this alert. The cup drops from his hand as he trembles in terror after recognizing the caller's identity. He remembers in shock that this is the man who subdued warlords in 12 countries. The founder grabs the phone in panic and orders to cancel the assassination mission immediately. He issues an urgent order to stop all missions directed toward Yun City. He screams at his men, emphasizing the speed of executing the orders to avoid destruction, and repeats his order hysterically out of fear of the ruler of Hell's wrath. An urgent warning message is sent to all the web's killers and members. The sniper is surprised by a strange notification arriving on his phone. He reads in shock the news of freezing the wealth of the Jiao family that launched the mission, and receives a top-level warning banning any attack on the target in Yun City. The sniper finally realizes the true and terrifying identity of the man standing before him. The hero asks the sniper with absolute calmness if he has finished reading the message, and asks coldly if he still needs to teach him a lesson himself. The sniper breaks down and drops to his knees, kneeling in humiliation after realizing his fatal mistake. He prostrates on the ground, begging the ruler of Hell to spare his life, and continues to cry and beg intensely, asking for pardon and forgiveness. He admits his stupidity and blindness for not recognizing the identity of the supreme ruler. He begs the hero with self-contempt to let him leave as if he were nothing. The hero coldly advises him to choose his targets carefully in his next life. Suddenly, one of the hero's loyal followers appears from the darkness and cuts the sniper's throat. He drops dead in the blink of an eye as punishment for daring to target the ruler. The loyal follower kneels before his master, showing his respect and loyalty, and expresses his anger and condemnation of the Jiao family's boldness to put a reward for killing his master. He suggests to the hero to send forces to wipe out the family in the provincial capital immediately. The hero rejects this suggestion with absolute calmness, pointing out his lack of rush for revenge. He explains that freezing the family's massive wealth is just the beginning of their punishment. He adds with a devilish smile that losing this money will cause total paralysis to them. The hero issues a new order to his subordinate in a firm voice. He orders to activate the Northern Intelligence Network at maximum capacity, and demands gathering detailed and accurate information about every single member of the Jiao family. The hero returns to his wife, who stands before the mirror stunned by her face's restored beauty. Little Nyan approaches and praises her mother's beauty with immense joy, describing her innocently as looking like a charming fairy. The wife smiles with tenderness and overwhelming joy at her sweet child's words. The hero enters the room and confirms that his daughter is also a beautiful little fairy. He holds his child in his arms with tenderness, announcing readiness to go out, and tells her with a smile that it's time for him and her mother to drop her off at school. The child's features change to sadness, almost crying as she calls her father. She tells him in a crying voice that the kids in kindergarten bully her and call her a bastard. She adds with sorrow that the teacher also treats her harshly, explaining that her teacher never likes her like the other kids, and complains that she always punishes her by making her stand in the corner unjustly. The hero's heart breaks, but he comforts her firmly, emphasizing that this only happened in the past. He promises her, his eyes burning with parental protection, that everything will change starting today, and swears to her that no one in this world will dare to mistreat her anymore. The hero and his family later arrive at the gates of the most prestigious and best school in the city to register the child. He walks forward with confident steps, holding his daughter's hand toward the main gate of the school. A security guard suddenly shouts, ordering them to stop. The rude guard steps forward and blocks them from entering, asking why they came, and rudely insults them, telling them to go beg somewhere else. He acts superior to them, pointing out that this is a prestigious international school and not for the poor, and mocks the hero, saying he won't be able to pay for the tiles if he dirties them. The hero asks his daughter to ignore the guard's insult. The hero controls his anger and explains calmly that he came to register his daughter in the school. The guard laughs mockingly and in disbelief of the hero's words, asking sarcastically if they possess a recommendation letter for admission, and demandingly asks them to present proof of their financial ability to pay the expensive fees. The guard makes fun of the hero for having an old, beat-up Jeep. He rudely kicks him out, ordering him to leave the gate immediately. He sharply warns him not to block the road for Mrs. Zhang's car. The lady makes a flashy entrance, arriving in her luxurious car. She steps out of her car, complaining about the mess at the gate. She looks at the young man and his daughter with disgust, giving them a snobby look. She accuses them of having a bad smell that bothers her kid. Her chubby son sticks his tongue out, mocking the little girl. The kid rudely calls the hero's daughter a little beggar. He takes the insult further, claiming she stinks and is disgusting. The guard quickly backs up the lady's words, clearly kissing up to her. He agrees with all her insults, confirming she's absolutely right. He promises to kick the poor young man and his daughter out of the place right away. The hero gets super angry at these insults and slaps him across the face. Then he throws a strong, sudden punch right into the guard's face. The punch crushes his face with massive force, leaving him in deep pain. His body flies and crashes violently into the shattered glass of the security room. He falls to the ground unconscious, his face covered in scattered glass. The lady is completely shocked by the hero's violent and sudden reaction. She boils with anger and scolds him for daring to hit the security guard in front of her. She screams in his face, condemning this rebellion and audacity. She tries to scare him by revealing her identity and social status. She brags that her husband is a board member of the school. The hero completely ignores her threats and walks on with cold confidence, not caring about her at all. He grabs his phone to make an important call to one of his subordinates. He orders him to do a deep search for the real owner of Star International Schools. He issues a strict order to buy the entire school within just 10 minutes. He emphasizes the need to transfer its ownership to his name immediately. The lady bursts into hysterical laughter after hearing his call. She keeps mocking him, thinking he's just a pathetic, crazy guy. She draws the crowd's attention to make fun of his delusional claims. She sarcastically tells everyone that this broke guy claims he can buy the school. The bystanders whisper in surprise, believing the hero has completely lost his mind. A woman points out that the school's market value is estimated at billions of dollars. She adds that it belongs to the powerful Jiao family's assets. The crowd mocks him, calling him a mentally ill, incompetent person. They assure that he'll be in massive trouble for assaulting the guard. They think he'll meet a tragic end for daring to insult the lady. They expect the father and daughter to be severely punished and not make it out safely. The scene shifts to the school principal, sitting arrogantly with his feet on his desk. The principal freaks out from the sudden and violent break-in into his office. He screams in anger, asking about the identity of the intruding trespasser. He harshly scolds the intruder for disrespecting the rules and barging in without permission. The hero walks in calmly and steadily, holding his little girl's hand. He sits in front of the principal with absolute confidence. He tells him about his serious desire to enroll his daughter in the school. He calmly explains that he wants to put her in the 4th grade to continue her studies. The principal smirks slyly, using the situation to extort him for money. He coldly rejects his request, claiming there are no empty spots. He purposely complicates things to push him into despair. He strictly confirms that the school's waiting lists are completely full. The hero glares at the principal, unconvinced by his lame, fake excuses. He realizes his words are just worthless nonsense. The principal tries to fool him about how hard it is to get accepted due to so many applicants. He slyly hints at the possibility of accepting the girl as an exceptional case, but with conditions. The principal shocks the hero by asking for a massive sponsorship fee of $5 million. The hero stares at the principal with contempt, realizing his absolute greed and corruption. He sarcastically asks if this school is built out of gold. The principal kicks him out rudely, justifying it by his inability to pay. He orders him to leave immediately and stop wasting his precious time since he has no money. He screams in his face, telling him to get out and out of his sight. The hero ignores him and makes another call to confirm his previous order. He repeats his strict order to buy the entire school within 10 minutes. The principal thinks the hero is stupidly joking around, unaware of how serious the situation is. He starts threatening him and giving him sarcastic advice. The lady and her son suddenly storm the office to file an urgent complaint. She asks the principal to step in right away to get her justice and punish the attacker. She points disgustedly at the hero, calling him a backward savage. She tells him frantically that he assaulted and beat up the guard. She also accuses him of mercilessly terrifying her little boy. The principal's expression instantly changes, putting on a big, fake smile for the lady. He welcomes her with excessive kissing up and respect for her status. He asks her to calm down and promises to fix the problem and discipline the hero immediately. He excuses the hero's presence, describing him as just some crazy guy. He directs his anger at the hero, threatening him with severe consequences for his actions. He shouts at the top of his lungs, calling the security squad for quick backup. He gets really mad at the guards' delay, wondering why they aren't there yet. A full squad of security guards storms the office to take control by force. The chubby kid laughs maliciously, seeing the hero cornered by security. He feels empowered by the guards and insults the hero's daughter again, bullying her. He threatens that the hero will pay the price for insulting their prestigious family. He threatens the hero that he'll be arrested and thrown to the dogs as punishment. The hero keeps defying everyone, reminding his subordinate of the 10-minute deadline. He coldly announces that the time limit is already up. The principal mocks the hero's threats, asking what he could possibly do now. He rudely challenges him, thinking he's in an invincible position of power. He orders his guards to teach the hero a harsh lesson, threatening him with the worst punishment. He provokes them to beat him brutally, taking full responsibility if he gets crippled. The phone on the principal's desk rings suddenly, interrupting them. The principal trembles and his face drops once he realizes the caller is the head of the school. The principal takes the call and hears shocking news that makes him shake. He stays holding the receiver, sweating bullets from the horror of what he just heard. He's informed over the phone that the school has fallen into the hands of a northern faction. The caller confirms to the terrified principal that mysterious capital has bought the entire school. He's shocked to learn that the new owner specifically demanded he be fired from his position immediately. His eyes widen in sheer terror and disbelief as he realizes the scale of the disaster. He completely loses his strength and falls to his knees in weakness and surrender. He bows his trembling body to the ground in a desperate attempt to process what's happening. The hero sits calmly and confidently, resting his arm on the sofa while his daughter watches him quietly. He sarcastically asks the collapsed principal if there are any empty spots for his daughter now. Shock and confusion appear on the rich lady's face at what's unfolding, wondering the reason for this submission. She stares with wide eyes, not believing the principal's breakdown in front of this young man. She yells at him, condemning his bowing to someone she considers pure trash. The principal grovels on the floor, begging the hero for mercy and forgiveness for his earlier stupidity. He admits he was blind for not recognizing the hero's high status. He keeps degrading himself, calling himself a dog who looks down on others. He keeps sobbing and begging, pleading with the hero to leave him a way out. The little girl innocently and confusedly wonders why this man is kneeling before her dad. She looks at her dad curiously, waiting for an answer to explain this weird situation. The hero calmly and gently tells her that whoever makes a mistake must face their punishment. He assures his daughter that these are the basic rules that run this world. The hero shoots sharp glares at the chubby kid, asking who dared to threaten his daughter. The chubby kid breaks down, starting to cry and scream for his mom out of pure terror. He keeps crying hysterically, begging to go home to escape the hero's stares. The terrified kid demands his mom make his dad destroy this scary man. The rich lady steps in, trying to protect her crying son and stand up to the hero. She arrogantly claims the hero bribed the principal and vows he won't get away with it. She tries to scare him by reminding him of their wide influence and power in Yun City. She screams in his face, threatening severe consequences if he even thinks about touching her son. The hero smiles with cold sarcasm, accepting the lady's challenge and ready to teach her a lesson. He grabs the chubby kid and lifts him in the air with one hand amid the lady's screams. The desperate lady tries to free her son from the hero's iron grip to no avail. He delivers a strong kick that pushes the annoying lady out of his way, knocking her to the ground. He looks at the kid hanging from his hand, pointing out his young age of no more than 10 years. He condemns how a kid this age could spit out such harsh words like feeding people to dogs. The hero considers this behavior the inevitable result of zero parenting and morals. He tells the terrified kid that he'll take over his discipline banquet on behalf of his failed parents. He tightens his grip to teach the bratty kid a lesson he'll never forget for the rest of his life. He snaps the chubby kid's wrist in a swift, harsh move, making him scream in pain. The kid completely passes out, his head falling back from the intense shock and pain, while the lady and the principal watch in absolute shock. He throws the kid toward his mom, ordering them to take her useless son away. He coldly and firmly kicks the lady out, demanding she leave the place instantly. The hero announces to everyone that the rules in this school have changed starting today. He strictly asserts that his new school won't accept hosting such scum. The lady boils with anger and hatred as she hugs her son, vowing revenge on the hero. She threatens that her husband will arrive soon with his men to teach him a brutal lesson. She screams in his face with malice, confirming she'll wipe him out of existence and leave no trace of him. She continues her hysterical screaming and empty threats, trying to win back her shattered pride. The hero raises his hand with total coldness, telling her he'll be waiting for them any time. A group of men storms the place and stands respectfully. One of the master's subordinates announces the deadline is up and all procedures to take over the school are complete. The subordinate hands the hero a file with his credentials as the new owner and principal of the school, and he also gives him his daughter Nian's admission file, confirming the mission is accomplished. The hero calmly checks the papers and orders his men to drag the ex-principal outside. He issues orders to thoroughly investigate all the embezzlement operations the principal did over the years. The hero insists on recovering all the money, warning against a single penny missing. He threatens to cut off one of the principal's fingers for every amount that isn't recovered. The principal screams in terror, begging the hero not to carry out this cruel sentence on him. He's dragged outside crying and screaming for help, but it's no use. The massive subordinate gets on his knees with a gentle smile to greet the little girl. He presents a pink school bag to the little girl as a welcome gift from him. He gently asks her if she likes the gift. The little girl gazes at the bag with shining eyes and a face full of amazement and joy. The hero nicely encourages her to accept the gift from the loyal subordinate. The little girl hugs the bag with overwhelming happiness and thanks the subordinate with an innocent smile. The hero walks with his subordinate in the school hallways to discuss future plans. He orders the allocation of the best teachers to provide intensive private tutoring for his daughter. He expresses his wish to make up for everything she missed, justifying it by her being behind academically. At the same time, he stresses not to pressure her and to let her learn at her own pace. The subordinate assures his master that he has already summoned a specialized teaching staff from the capital. He explains that this staff includes the best, highly qualified teachers, and he adds that their sole mission will be serving and teaching only the little girl. The little girl anxiously asks her dad if she caused him trouble with that family. She tells him with her usual innocence that the fat lady threatened him with her strong husband. The hero looks at his daughter with a tender, reassuring gaze to erase the fear from her heart. He asks her to remember his words well and trust them completely. He assures her firmly and certainly that there's nothing to worry about in this world, and he swears to her that there is no one on earth stronger or greater than her dad. The hero arrives with his daughter at the classroom door and says goodbye so she can join her first lesson. He tenderly tells her he'll be waiting for her outside until she finishes her school day. He steps out to the schoolyard and lights a cigarette with a cold expression, realizing the real battle has just begun. He directs his words to someone hiding in the shadows, ordering him to come out and show himself. The hero mockingly tells him he knows he's been tailing him the whole way. He sarcastically asks the stalker if he's getting tired of this hidden chase. A mysterious, creepy guy emerges from the trees in response to the hero's call. The man known as the Poison King smirks maliciously, showing his admiration for the strength of the Hell Ruler. He praises the hero's sharp senses and high ability to easily detect his presence. The old man lusts after the little girl's blood, finding its scent incredibly sweet, and he desperately wishes he could suck all of her blood out. And he consoles himself, confirming his magical blood transformation skill will be perfected and become even greater. The hero addresses him, asking if he's one of the Jiao family's lackeys. The old man refuses to answer and decides to attack straight away, figuring the dead don't need to know much. He dashes toward him with the intent to attack. The hero deals his opponent a blow that looks on the surface like a normal slap, but in reality, it was a strike packed with internal energy that completely pierced the old man's body. The hero mocks his opponent, calling him incredibly weak, and he coldly wonders if there's anyone else around to face him. The hero crushes his opponent's head with his foot, considering him just scum sent to die, and he stands tall after easily eliminating the weak old man. The old man confesses with his dying breath that he's indeed an envoy from the Jiao family, and he confirms the Jiao family already knows the location of the hero's daughter's school, and he explains their plan was to kidnap the girl to force him to hand over the youth pill recipe. The hero coldly decides to get rid of this old man first before thinking about his next move, and his eyes ignite with terrifying rage because they dared to target his daughter. He calls for his loyal subordinate Tiangang. The massive subordinate appears and drops to his knee immediately, answering his master's call. The hero orders him to dispose of the old man's body and clean the place up completely, and he warns him not to make any noise so as not to scare the little girl. The hero smirks wickedly, announcing the start of his main move against his enemies, and he orders his subordinate to send a warning to the provincial capital, vowing to send the Jiao family an unforgettable gift in response to their actions. The scene shifts to the massive Jiao family mansion in the provincial capital at night. The Jiao family boss, Tianba, is shown arrogantly drinking wine. The boss curses his failed subordinate, the poison scorpion, calling him trash, and he condemns his repeated failures to bring back even a simple medical recipe. But he calms himself down, figuring it doesn't matter anymore. And he explains that he sent the Poison King personally to get the job done, and he seems totally confident his man will manage to kidnap the little girl tonight. And he smiles cunningly, anticipating the moment he gets his hands on the kid, promising the hero that he'll see how he acts when his daughter is taken hostage. And in the middle of the night, the boss relaxes in his bed, feeling safe. He notices a weird movement in the room and thinks it's just a servant, but he turns around to find a mysterious box placed right on his bed. He angrily and confusedly wonders who dared to put this thing there. He cautiously approaches the box to open it and discovers its shocking contents. The boss screams in sheer terror after seeing what's inside the box, and pure panic and shock take over him, freezing the blood in his veins. Right then, his phone suddenly rings, adding to his stress. He reads a text from the hero asking if he liked the gift, warning him he provoked the wrong guy. The boss is stunned and wonders about the sender's identity, and he realizes with shock that the caller is none other than Chin Junlin himself. The hero tells him that since he dared to target him, he has to face the consequences, and he warns him to get ready to pay a heavy price for interfering, and the hero announces he'll be personally heading to the provincial capital soon, to settle his scores with the Jiao family, one by one, and he confirms the battle between them is now a matter of life or death, making the boss call him a madman. The boss realizes in terror that his opponent is a total psycho who can't be stopped. The boss screams, calling his guards and men for immediate help, and he orders all fighters and guards to gather and protect him, and he asks to urgently contact the Martial Arts Association for backup, swearing he'll destroy the hero at any cost. The scene cuts back to the hero waiting calmly for his daughter outside her school. The little girl comes out happily and tells her dad the teacher was very nice to her, and she innocently assures him that no one dared to bully her today, and she adds that the school food was super tasty. The hero smiles tenderly and tells her that's wonderful, and he promises her every single day ahead will be just as beautiful. The hero carries his daughter and heads to his car, and he tells her they're going home now, adding that her mom has made her favorite meal, and suddenly the hero notices something suspicious and senses nearby danger. It turns out someone from the Chi family called Ghost Eye is watching them. The hero spots his location with his strong intuition and stares right at him, and he cracks a terrifying, challenging smile, throwing the sniper off guard. The watcher panics and yells to his boss in the car to hurry up and flee. The boss confusingly asks about the reason for this sudden panic. The trembling watcher admits that a single look from the hero almost stopped his heart, and he screams at the driver, ordering him to hit the gas at top speed, and he stresses the need to get away from the hero instantly. The flustered driver asks which way they should go. He orders him to get out of the whole city, and head straight back to the capital to save their lives. He breathes a sigh of relief after they get away, admitting the info they had on the hero was completely wrong, and he confirms their target isn't just a regular outcast kid like the rumors said, and he decides to report these serious developments to the family head immediately, warning them not to make any reckless moves against this monster. The scene shifts to the hero cooking dinner for his family himself, wearing an apron. His wife stands behind him, watching him silently with love. The hero turns around smiling after noticing her standing there, and he asks her gently if something is wrong, and he teases her, asking if there's something on his face that's making her stare like that. The wife denies it shyly with a bit of nervousness, and she tells him she just feels that everything happening around her is a bit strange, and she adds that it feels like a beautiful dream she doesn't want to wake up from. The hero smiles and asks her and his daughter to sit down and eat first, and he tells her that after they finish dinner, they need to toss all their old clothes to start a fresh new life. The hero promises his wife he'll take her out the next day to buy new clothes fitting for her. She politely refuses, insisting her current clothes are still fine to wear to save money, and she adds they need to save their money for their daughter Nian's school expenses. He tenderly tells her to just listen to his words and obey without arguing, and he proudly reminds her she is the wife of the great Qin Junlin and she must be spoiled, and he explains he isn't asking her to rule the world or take on massive responsibilities, but he insists at the very least she gets the appreciation and attention she deserves, and he assures her there is no one in all of Yun City who has the right to wear better clothes than her. The couple arrives together at the classiest and fanciest mall in the city to shop. A saleswoman greets them with a snooty look and tells them with disdain to browse as they like, and she arrogantly warns them not to dirty the fancy clothes on display, and she mockingly adds they would never be able to pay for any item that gets ruined. A chubby guy accompanied by a heavily made-up woman approaches them with an annoying swagger. The woman recognizes the wife and mocks her, calling her the former school beauty queen, Su Yun, and she sneers at her, saying she came to enjoy the free AC instead of cleaning bathrooms after her face got disfigured. The chubby guy smiles maliciously and slyly, watching the scene with enjoyment, and he makes fun of the way the wife is wearing clothes that completely cover her body and face. The woman continues her mean comments, claiming her face has become so ugly that she's ashamed to show it in public. The wife silently recognizes the woman, remembering her name is Liu Yan. The chubby guy rudely mocks her classmate's taste in picking a life partner, and he looks down on the hero, describing him as just a former labor camp inmate. The woman aggressively challenges the wife and demands she reveal her disfigured face to everyone, and she tries to force her to show her alleged ugliness to gloat over her even more. The wife steps back, trying to protect her face and pushing away the aggressive woman's hand. She suddenly and confidently decides to take off her mask herself to end this whole farce. Her face is revealed, looking incredibly beautiful and clear, completely healed from all the scars. The chubby guy is totally stunned, left speechless by her enchanting beauty, and the woman burns with anger and shock at this amazing, unexpected transformation. And the saleswoman stands there shocked, staring at the wife's unmatched beauty. The chubby guy lusts after the wife upon seeing her beauty and calls her a stunning fairy, and he laughs wickedly and lustfully, harboring dirty intentions toward her, and he tries hitting on her, shamelessly calling her beautiful, and he brags about his wealth to her, claiming he's a big boss with influence, and he reaches out his dirty hand, trying to forcefully drag her away with him. The hero steps in a flash and breaks the chubby guy's wrist in a brutal move. The chubby guy screams in intense pain from the sudden break. The hero knocks him back with immense force, sending him flying. The man crashes hard into the luxury clothing racks, completely destroying them and causing chaos in the store. The hero glares at him with angry disgust at his filthy hand that dared to touch his wife, and he coldly warns him that he'll send his hands to the incinerator if he doesn't need them. The chubby guy keeps screaming and writhing in pain on the floor. The store manager rushes over furiously with security guards, looking for who caused this mess. The manager laments his bad luck over the new clothing collection that got ruined and dirtied, and he demands the hero pay $500,000 in immediate compensation for the damages. And he looks down on him, thinking he's poor and won't be able to scrounge up that amount. And he explicitly threatens that he won't leave the store alive today without paying the compensation. The hero completely ignores his threats and turns to ask his wife calmly, and he coldly asks her if she really liked the clothes in this store. She shyly replies that the clothes look really beautiful, but she catches herself, expressing her worry about their crazy high prices. The hero grabs his phone and calls his loyal subordinate Tiangang, and he tells him he's currently at the Wangxiang Mall, and he gives him a strict 1-minute deadline to carry out his order, and he orders him to buy the entire mall immediately with no questions asked, and he insists on buying it fast because his wife liked the clothes on display, and he issues an order to pack up all the clothes she looked at so she can take them with her. The woman bursts into hysterical laughter, thinking the hero just told a ridiculous joke, and she mocks the idea of him buying a mall worth billions of dollars, and she calls him crazy and out of his mind for spewing such nonsense. The store manager joins in the mocking laughter at the hero's claims, and he rudely challenges the hero, saying that if he really manages to buy the mall, he will personally eat all the ruined clothes himself. The hero calmly lights his cigarette, announcing the start of the 1-minute countdown, and he coldly tells the manager he hopes his appetite for food is as big as his loud mouth. After less than a minute, the mall's internal alarms go off, and an urgent emergency announcement is broadcast over the loudspeakers everywhere. The voice clearly announces to everyone present in the Wangxiang Mall that the ownership of the mall has officially transferred to a new owner, and the shocking news is confirmed by repeating the ownership change announcement over the radio, and it reveals that the new chairman of the board is Mr. Chin, and it announces he is currently doing an inspection tour in the women's fashion section on the 3rd floor, and a strict order is issued for all executive managers to head there immediately to kneel and welcome him. And the woman is struck with sheer terror and shock upon hearing this sudden announcement, and the store manager freezes in his spot, unable to process what's happening, and he mumbles broken words, wondering how this could be real. The general manager of the mall and top officials run in panic toward the store, and armed forces belonging to the Emperor's palace guard storm the place to take control. The squad commander kneels before the hero with intense respect, calling him by his majestic title, and he delivers his report, confirming the mall takeover operation was successfully completed, and he presents him with the new ownership documents to check out himself. The store manager sweats bullets and realizes he's nearing his inevitable end. The woman and the chubby guy collapse to the ground in terror, paralyzed after realizing the hero's true identity. The hero looks coldly at the manager and reminds him of the words he just spat out, and he reminds him of his sarcastic promise that if the mall was truly bought, he'd commit to eating all the displayed clothes. The massive subordinate steps toward him, ordering him to keep his promise and start eating, and he brings him closer to the ruined clothes, shoving them hard into his face, and he screams in his face, warning him not to dare make his master wait too long. The manager falls to the ground in despair, surrendering to his humiliating fate as punishment for his arrogance. The manager collapses to the ground, weeping and begging for mercy and forgiveness. The hero appears with his guards at the mall, leaving everyone completely stunned. He furiously addresses the bullies, reminding them of their past words. He asks with terrifying calmness about their claim that his wife is just a cleaning lady. The bullying woman kneels and slaps herself, admitting her fatal mistake. She keeps begging her master, hoping to get his forgiveness. She apologizes deeply, justifying what happened as just a misjudgment on her part. She takes back her past mockery, praising the exceptional beauty of the hero's wife. She strongly denies that someone with her beauty could just be a cleaning lady. The fat man also drops down, begging and apologizing for his ignorance of the hero's true identity. He keeps insulting himself, using the worst words, hoping to survive. He begs the hero to completely ignore him and let him go his way. The hero gets annoyed by the noise of their continuous begging, deciding to end this situation. He turns to his loyal subordinate Tiangang, calling him to step in. He leaves the matter of their punishment to his subordinate, preparing to leave. He takes his wife's hand, inviting her to leave this place. He justifies their departure by saying the air of the place has become polluted by their presence. He suggests to his wife heading to another store to get what she wants. The massive subordinate steps toward the broken sinners on the ground to execute the punishment. He scolds the man and the woman for their offensive and dirty words toward his master. He issues a strict order to his guards to pull out the sinner's teeth as a deterrent punishment. The screams of the man and the woman rise in terror and pain as the guards grab them. The scene shifts to the hero and his wife on their way back home quietly. The hero receives an urgent intelligence report from one of his men while walking. The subordinate tells him that the corrupt merchant was seen heading toward an abandoned factory. He adds that the factory is located in the northern area of the city. He explains that the merchant met a prominent figure from the martial arts alliance there. He reveals that this alliance plans to attack the hero at noon the next day. He continues that they vow to cut off the hero's head to make him an example to everyone. He receives this threat with a mocking smile, indifferent to their warnings. He expresses his happiness with this challenge, considering it a good and suitable opportunity. He decides to wait until tomorrow to face them face to face. He sees this confrontation as a training and warm-up session for his subordinate. The scene later shifts to the inside of the hero and his family's mansion. The hero's daughter appears sitting quietly and reading a book in the courtyard of the house. The outer door of the house suddenly shatters with massive force, causing panic. Representatives of the Martial Arts Alliance and the Merchants Guild storm the place with angry faces. The attacking leaders step forward with confident steps, ready for revenge. The Alliance leader shouts, demanding the hero come out to face his fate. He threatens him with certain death as punishment for his past actions. The little girl panics from the loud voices and calls her father in fear. The hero comes out quickly to calm his daughter after hearing the noise. He tries to reassure his child, asking her to return to her comfortable room. He justifies the sounds to his daughter as just noise resulting from him cleaning the house. He apologizes to his child for this temporary annoyance to distract her attention. He makes sure to keep his child and wife away from seeing the scenes of imminent violence, ensuring she enters safely. He turns toward the intruders, calmly telling them of his hatred for loud voices. He adds with features covered in suppressed rage that he hates another matter deeply. He explains that what he loathes most is someone daring to break his door. The Alliance leader bursts out laughing mockingly at his calm warnings. The old man mocks the hero's arrogance despite the awkward situation he finds himself in. He threatens to use his iron fist to crush him completely. He expresses his intention to shatter the hero's bones entirely without mercy. He emphasizes that he will teach him a harsh lesson in respecting those higher in status than him. The hero ignores the old man's threats, considering him just trash unworthy of a reply. The accompanying merchant mocks the hero, accusing him of hiding behind his men. He repeats his threat with malice that today will be the hero's inevitable end. He brags about the old man's superhuman strength and his ability to destroy the strongest monsters. He sarcastically questions the absence of the hero's guards at this time. He gloats, believing the hero's men have fled out of fear of the confrontation. The subordinate Tiangang suddenly appears behind the hero, ready to defend his master. He steps forward with sharp and terrifying looks toward the attackers. He strongly announces that trash like them doesn't deserve his master stepping in to fight them. The old man flares up in anger at the subordinate's insult to him and looking down on his status. The subordinate looks at the old man with total coldness and clear contempt. He coldly points to the shattered door, demanding financial compensation. He demands the enemies pay 2 million coins as the value of the door they destroyed. He sarcastically asks whether they will settle the amount in cash or by card. The old man gets extremely angry at this provocative request and rushes to attack. The subordinate stands firm in his place without showing any attempt to dodge. The old man directs his powerful strike, which he brags about its massive weight, toward the subordinate. The old man's fist collides with the subordinate's body, only for the latter to return a crushing punch. That makes him spit blood. The old man falls defeated from a single blow, while the merchant collapses from the shock. He sits on the ground terrified to the point of wetting himself from extreme horror. The subordinate places his foot on top of the fallen old man to impose his full control. The old man mutters in pain and shock, concluding that his opponent uses external energy. He rejects his first idea, trying to find another explanation for the subordinate's strength. He concludes in terror that the subordinate must be a physical martial professor. The subordinate mocks the old man's claims and his attempt to classify his fighting level. He refuses to have his strength measured by such weak terms. He emphasizes that the old man knows nothing about the true ranks of power. He turns toward his master, the hero, waiting for his orders regarding the attackers. He asks his master if he wishes to get rid of them and clean the place. He points with contempt at the old man lying at his feet, waiting for permission. The hero orders his subordinate to pack up the defeated man and send him to the regional capital's alliance. He directs a clear message of challenge to the alliance members. he asks his subordinate to tell the Alliance that if they do not accept this result, he concludes his message by inviting the Alliance to a direct fight if they have the nerve. The hero decides to determine the fate of the merchant Qian. He mentions to his subordinate what he heard about the intensity of this merchant's love for money. He passes a judgment to stuff the merchant's belly with coins. He aims by that for the merchant to die smelling of copper. The merchant screams, rejecting this horrific fate and begging to stop. He begs the Emperor of the Underworld, asking him for pardon and mercy. The hero receives an urgent and sudden message via the dark web. The message warns of the Jiao family mobilizing its men to move against him. He receives the news, considering that they want to escalate things. He announces his intention to respond to them and play a bigger game. The hero appears sitting in his garden, issuing an order to pass the commands of the Emperor of the Underworld. He issues a summons to the 1st Heavy Armored Division in the capital. He orders the division to move and conduct a maneuver toward the provincial capital. He sets the advance distance at 300 kilometers forward. He directs his orders to aim the cannon barrels directly toward the Jiao family mansion. The scene shifts to show the massive Jiao family mansion in the capital. The head of the Jiao family flares up in anger at the hero's nerve to challenge their mansion. He considers this action an attempt to cut the lifeline of his family. He receives a report from his servant stating the completion of the fighters' mobilization. The servant adds that there is additional support on the way. He explains that the Martial Arts Alliance has also agreed to step in on their behalf. He notes that there are concerns within the alliance. He conveys the Alliance's warning of the possibility that the opponent is truly the Emperor of the Underworld. He explains the Alliance's anxiety that their numbers are insufficient in that case. The head of the family rejects these warnings with irritation, calling them nonsense. He shouts, denying the existence of a figure with this name and status. He emphasizes that the country contains only the 4 known gods of war. He continues his total denial of the Emperor of the Underworld's existence. He decides to contact a supporting party to request help, starting the phone call with his supporter. He confirms that he is speaking with Inspector Wu. He claims to the inspector that someone is moving armed forces illegally. He claims that the hero is threatening a rebellion. He begs the inspector to move the Jiangnan province army forces. He demands suppressing this alleged rebellion immediately. The inspector is surprised by the news of illegally moving armed forces. He condemns this rebellion, considering it a challenge to authority. He promises to head there personally, accompanied by a special forces unit to step in. He confirms his quick heading toward Yun City to control the situation. The scene returns to the hero sitting peacefully to read a story to his child. He tells his daughter the story of the girl named Cinderella. The child smiles with happiness and engagement with her father's story. Massive military forces and helicopters appear, completely surrounding the hero's mansion. The inspector directs a call via loudspeaker to those inside. He announces to those in the mansion that they are surrounded from all sides. He orders everyone to drop their weapons immediately without resistance. He demands the targets come out raising their hands above their heads. He threatens to fire and kill immediately in case of non-compliance. The child notices the annoying voices outside and calls her father in anxiety. She asks in fear if those outside are the bad guys. He reassures his child with tenderness, emphasizing to her that they are not bad guys. He describes the surrounding forces as just a bunch of lost clowns. The head of the Jiao family gains strength from the presence of the forces and starts shouting and calling the hero. He shouts, demanding the hero come out to face them. He brags about the presence of Inspector Wu personally to arrest him. He challenges the hero, asking if he will continue his stubbornness. The attackers are surprised by the subordinate Tiangang coming out alone instead of the hero. He steps forward, uncaring of their army and military siege, scolding them for the annoyance. He condemns their shouting that disturbs his master while putting his child to sleep. The inspector gets angry at the subordinate's insolence and his nerve to challenge him. He proudly introduces himself as an official in the province's war department. He points his pistol toward the subordinate, accusing them of involvement in terrorism. He orders the subordinate to bring the hero out immediately to surrender himself. The subordinate smiles mockingly and in derision at the inspector's orders. He dismisses the inspector's title, considering it worthless. He downplays the inspector and his rank, which he considers very petty. He emphasizes that the inspector has no right and doesn't deserve to request his master's presence. He pulls out a mysterious metal badge to show it to the inspector. He throws the badge toward the inspector, asking him to pick it up and examine it. The badge with the terrifying symbol settles on the ground before the inspector's eyes. The inspector's features gradually change to extreme terror and panic. He stammers in shock, asking about the true identity of the subordinate. The subordinate reveals his identity as the commander of the 1st Legion in the northern region. He adds that his secret and distinguished title is the Nation Conqueror. The inspector collapses, kneeling immediately, apologizing for not knowing the arrival of the god of war. The trembling inspector admits committing a crime deserving death for insulting them. The head of the Jiao family is surprised by the inspector's submission, asking about the reason for his kneeling. He demands the inspector issue the order to fire and kill the subordinate. The inspector turns angrily and delivers a powerful, direct slap to the face of the Jiao family head. He shouts in the face of the family head, ordering him to be completely silent. He scolds the family head severely for pushing him toward his doom with this trap. The inspector rushes to kneel again, begging for mercy after realizing the gravity of the situation. The inspector receives a harsh kick from the assistant instead of accepting his apology. The assistant shouts at his forces, angry at pointing their weapons toward him. He orders his soldiers immediately to lower their rifles and stop preparing to fight. He directs his orders to the forces to withdraw and return to their camps to receive punishment. The special forces comply with the orders and begin an immediate retreat. The military forces withdraw completely from before the hero's mansion, ending the siege. The leader of the Jiao family appears in the scene, completely gripped by fear. The subordinate looks mockingly toward the panicked Jiao family leader. He reminds him sarcastically of his arrogant words that he just uttered. He condemns his delusional desire to see the master of the mansion kneel before him. He smiles deviously while the old leader's eyes widen from the intensity of fear. The terrified old man stammers, unable to speak or justify his stance. The subordinate asks him not to rush things and reassures him mockingly. He conveys his master's message, which carries an implied threat. He explains to him that since his family enjoys mobilizing forces so much, they will play a real war game with him that he has no capacity for. The subordinate hints with a devious smile that it's time to execute their plan. Signs of tension and anxiety appear clearly on the old leader's face, anticipating what will happen. He receives a phone call informing him in horror that his family is completely finished. He holds the phone with his trembling hand while listening to the disastrous news. The caller informs him in horror that countless tanks have surrounded their mansion. His face turns pale, and features of absolute despair take over him as if he lost his soul. He collapses to the ground, dropping to his knees in humiliation. The subordinate informs his master that the 1st Heavy Armored Division has successfully taken its positions, and confirms that the Jiao family mansion in the regional capital has come entirely within their line of fire. The hero appears with cold features and eyes radiating rage to give the starting signal. The old leader freezes in his place upon hearing his decisive choice. The scene displays a tight military siege with tanks around the massive Jiao family mansion. The powerful fighters hired by the family with vast amounts of money appear in a state of alertness and fear. They stand in confusion and terror, wondering about the benefit of their fighting skills before this scene. One of the old fighters realizes their complete helplessness and the failure of their strength before this brute force. He admits in shock that their high skills mean nothing before the modern military arsenal. One of the leaders of the Jiao family comes out, trying to process the imminent destruction around him. He stupidly comforts himself, imagining this terrifying scene as just a routine military exercise. A massive tank breaks through the mansion wall, smashing it brutally and without mercy. The man with glasses stares into the cannon barrel pointed at him in extreme terror. He loses consciousness after realizing that death stands directly before him. The tank commander directs a firm call via loudspeaker carrying the orders of the ruler of hell. He demands all family members without exception submit immediately. He orders them to gather in the courtyard and kneel within 3 minutes only. He threatens to level their house to the ground if one person fails to attend, and vows to wipe out 3 generations of it if 2 people fail. A state of terror and absolute despair takes over the faces of the besieged family members. The hero appears sipping tea with absolute calmness and coldness in his headquarters. He follows a live broadcast of the siege operation via his tablet. His subordinate informs him that the leader is begging to speak with him on the phone. The phone screen appears receiving a desperate distress call from him. The hero listens to the call with features devoid of any mercy. The leader admits his fatal mistake, crying and acknowledging his crushing defeat. He offers to surrender all his family's wealth and properties to the hero in exchange for pardon. He begs him to spare the life of just one person to carry the family name. The hero coldly rejects his offer, noting that money is the last thing he lacks. He angrily recalls the moment the family's sniper aimed his weapon toward them. He reminds him that targeting the forehead of his innocent wife was the point of no return. He assures him that his family's inevitable fate of destruction was sealed from that exact moment. He tells him in a harsh tone that he will not kill him now. He explains that his goal is to force him to watch the collapse of his empire alive. He continues his threat that he will make him see with his own eyes how his massive family fell, and how he led it with his stupidity and arrogance toward the abyss of fall and ruin. The field military commander receives the final execution order from his master to begin the attack. The commander shouts at the top of his voice, ordering his forces to start firing immediately. The heavy artillery begins shelling the mansion with massive power. The luxurious mansion turns in a few moments into a sea of blazing fire and ruins. The leader and his companion are dragged bound and humiliated amid tight security from the forces. The scarred subordinate steps forward with firm steps to oversee their transfer and delivery. He conveys to them his master's strict final orders regarding their tragic fate. He orders taking them to the provincial capital to kneel before the ruins of their burnt mansion, and orders setting up a memorial plaque over those ruins to be a lesson to everyone. He reveals the severe warning phrase that will be written on that plaque, which clearly states that anyone who dares to offend the Chen family will receive their strict and deadly punishment no matter how far or fortified they are. The scene shifts to a man wearing traditional clothing, calmly feeding ornamental fish in his courtyard. Another man breaks into the place panicked, calling for the leader of the Qi family to convey the news to him. The leader condemns this panic, calmly asking about the reason for this sudden chaos. The man tells him in extreme terror that a major disaster has struck and the sky has fallen on them. He emphasizes that what happened goes beyond just a normal disaster, but is total destruction. He informs him in extreme shock that the Jiao family has been completely wiped out of existence. The leader processes the name with difficulty, asking about the great Jiao family. The man explains to him that he means the influential family in the regional capital. The leader asks in wonder and disbelief about how a family of this size disappeared. The man tells him in terror that they were subjected to heavy artillery shelling that left them a thing of the past. He adds that the 1st Heavy Armored Division of the Northern Army is the one that executed the attack, and completes that the division leveled the family's properties and mansion completely to the ground. The man points in fear and terror to the scary person behind this destruction. He recalls while trembling the terrifying looks of that person that strike terror into hearts. He reminds him of the person they all united against in the past and conspired to push toward death. The leader realizes in shock that he is speaking about the only survivor of the Chen family lineage. He strongly refuses to believe this matter, considering it impossible and just an illusion. He emphasizes that their plan at that time to kill him was airtight and free of any mistakes, and adds, reassuring himself, that that person was suffering then from lethal injuries. He mentions that he fell before their eyes into the deep Kunlun abyss from which no one survives. He insists that it's impossible for him to have survived and that he died without a doubt. The panicked man opposes him, asking about the disastrous possibility if he didn't really die. He poses a terrifying idea of whether he crawled back from hell to take revenge on them all. His eyes widen in terror and shock after realizing the gravity and realism of this possibility. The leader strictly decides to take proactive measures and eliminate him immediately, even if the matter is just a doubt, to avoid doom. With a firm determination not to allow enemies to escape punishment, he issues a strict order to him to go and conduct a careful investigation into the matter. The instructions focus on the necessity of examining the little girl's blood in particular. It is suspected that if the girl is truly from the lineage of that specific person, the matter will be different. It is explained that her blood will show a unique reaction in the form of a dragon tattoo to prove her lineage. The speaker adds other important instructions that must be executed in addition to the above. He orders that an urgent notice must be sent to the inner sect of the Medicine King Valley. He hands the subordinate a special token to tell them that the imperial blood they searched for so long has been found. The message confirms that this rare magical component might have finally appeared in Yun City. Meanwhile, inside the Chen mansion, the hero appears wearing a funny apron while cooking. He prepares a fried egg with extreme care to take the shape of a love heart. His little child looks at him with eyes full of innocence and happiness while calling him Daddy. She expresses her great joy at seeing the egg made in the shape of a heart for her. The father feeds his child with extreme tenderness and gently asks her if the food pleased her. He promises her with love that he will prepare more of this delicious food for her the next day. The kitchen fills with a warm atmosphere as they exchange happy and cheerful laughs together. At the same time, the wife sits at the dining table while browsing her phone with features covered in anxiety. She reads a news report indicating that the true reason behind the sudden wipeout of the Jiao family remains unknown. She comments with emotion, noting that every human receives the reward of their actions of good or evil in the end. She adds that the sky perhaps could no longer tolerate the Jiao family's tyranny and evil actions. The hero replies calmly and confidently, explaining that the time for their reckoning has come and they were simply gotten rid of. The wife listens to his words, and relief appears on her face. The family continues their conversation in total calmness, unaware of the storm forming outside. The scene shifts to one of the loyal followers who approaches the hero to present a report to him. The subordinate asks his master with all respect to step away a bit to speak in a secret and important matter. The hero pats his child's head with tenderness before rising to accompany his subordinate. He asks him outside about the nature of this urgent matter that demands attention. He informs him of the presence of suspicious movements and unusual activities occurring in Kyoto City. He reveals that the spy named Ghost Eye, who managed to escape previously, has returned to the Qi family. He adds that the return of this spy was immediately followed by quick movements by the enemies. He explains that the Qi family immediately sent envoys to the Medicine King Valley. He notes that there is another more dangerous piece of information his master must be aware of. He explains that his men discovered a horrific matter while cleaning the ruins of the Jiao family mansion. He informs his master that they found a top-secret document belonging to a person named Zhao Wuji. He confirms that this document the enemies were unable to destroy in time before the attack. The subordinate reveals in shock that the content of this secret file directly concerns the child Nian. The hero's features change, and his eyes flare with rage upon hearing his child's name in this dark context. The subordinate explains the true and vile reason that pushed the Jiao family to kidnap her in the past. He emphasizes that the kidnapping operation was not just a settlement of scores or personal malice, as was believed. He notes that they were working for a highly influential figure to use the child in forbidden rituals, explaining that the secret file details clearly the terrifying nature of the goal they seek to achieve. The file mentions that her blood possesses highly rare and unusual characteristics. It shows that it contains a special primitive substance inherited across generations. It reveals that this substance makes her blood the perfect and unique component to manufacture the legendary 9 Transformations Golden Pill. The hero's anger reaches its peak, and his eyes glow with a terrifying devilish red color, ready for revenge. He mutters with deadly coldness, expressing his understanding of the extent of his enemy's insolence and nerve. He threatens them that as long as they dared to think of using his child as a medicinal component for their potions, he will pour his wrath on the entire Medicine King Valley and won't leave a trace of them. He swears that he will turn their alleged valley into ruins and burnt ash without any mercy. One of his fighters appears immediately, and coldly summons his elite special forces unit known as the Heavenly Demon. He issues a firm order to activate the absolute surveillance network called Eye of the Death God. He orders placing both the Medicine King Valley and the Qi family under moment-by-moment surveillance around the clock, completing military instructions in preparation for launching a counterattack that spares nothing. He issues an order to send urgent and immediate directives to the forces stationed in the northern region. The order dictates moving the terrifying execution unit, the Death Squad, to head south immediately. He sets their final destination to station and penetrate inside the borders of Yun City to settle matters. He explains that the primary mission of this squad is to provide secret and absolute protection for the child Nian. The scene then shifts to show the mysterious and isolated mountainous terrain of the Medicine King Valley. An old elder from the valley appears standing before a massive cauldron when a magical message reaches him via a paper bird. He turns the paper bird in his hand to read the content of the urgent message it carries. His eyes widen in extreme surprise after realizing the massive value of the information contained in the message. He bursts into hysterical laughter, considering that divine providence has finally stepped in to help him. His heart fills with greed, and he issues an immediate order to his followers to move toward the target. He emphasizes the necessity of accomplishing the required mission no matter the price or consequences. He directs his strict order to kidnap that child and bring her to him alive. He expresses his ecstasy that obtaining the child's blood will solve the biggest obstacle in his path. He announces with absolute confidence that his dream of completing the manufacture of the golden pill has now become a confirmed reality. Elsewhere, Su Yun informs her superiors that the acquisition process of the Jiao family's assets has been successfully completed. The arrogant young man named Young Master Sun listens to the report while lighting his cigarette with vanity. He boastfully announces that his group will from now on take full control of those massive assets. He directs his looks toward Miss Su Yun, who sits before him with serious and strict features. He confidently implies that the rules of the game are clear and understood by everyone in the business world. He downplays the collapse of the Jiao family, considering it just a passing piece of bad luck and nothing more. He describes what happened to the destroyed family as a sudden natural disaster that toppled them. He sarcastically claims that this pure coincidence is what allowed Su Yun's company to seize this opportunity. He questions her capabilities, trying to provoke her and downplay her professional competence. He insults her and her husband with harsh words, pointing to their difficult and miserable past. He mockingly questions whether she possesses the actual ability to manage assets estimated in billions of dollars. The laughter of the men present in the meeting rises in mockery and derision at the presence of a woman in the presidential position. One of the attendees supports his provocative words and addresses his direct and insulting speech to Su Yun. He taunts her with her past, saying that 10 years ago she was nothing but a beautiful face of no use. He uses foul words to downplay her, noting that the recovery of her face changes nothing of her reality. He continues to insult her, describing her as just a beautiful woman who was abandoned in the past. He rudely demands she step aside and summon her husband, whom he describes as trash, to negotiate instead of her. Su Yun stands with pride and strikes her hands on the table, strongly announcing that this is her own company. She tells them in a firm and decisive tone that if they do not have the intention to cooperate with respect, the negotiations are over. She bravely kicks them out of her office, ordering them to leave immediately without hesitation. The arrogant guy starts throwing blatant threats at Su-yun. He rudely orders her out of her own office, flexing his massive influence to try and scare her. He threatens that she and her family will end up dead on the streets tomorrow if she doesn't obey him. At this tense moment, the meeting room door suddenly swings open. Everyone is shocked to see the MC walk in carrying his little girl, who's complaining about the noise. He comforts her, pointing out that the place is just full of annoying flies. He gently tells her not to worry about what's happening around them. Then he asks his huge subordinate, Tiangang, to crush these flies. The MC walks up to his wife to ask what the problem is, and waits to see how this arrogant guy will react. Meanwhile, Su-yun looks on seriously, feeling confident now that her husband is here. The guy just keeps smoking coldly, acting like this is a private business meeting no one else can enter. He yells angrily, accusing the MC of bringing in an unwanted brat. The MC's eyes flare with anger and he orders his subordinate to slap the guy immediately. Tiangang executes the order, delivering a thunderous slap with insane power to his face, sending his body flying through the air from the sheer force of the sudden hit. The subordinate stands firm, ready for any further orders, while pure shock and disbelief appear on the faces of everyone else in the room. They look in absolute terror at the strength of this terrifying subordinate. The MC sits down calmly with his daughter and orders the meeting to continue. He throws out a challenging question, asking if anyone opposes his wife's words, and waits to see who dares to defy his orders, repeating his question strictly to see who refuses to submit. The slapped guy struggles to get up from the floor, declaring his refusal. He stands up angrily, defying the MC and protesting what was done to him. He screams threats, demanding to know the identity of who dared to hit him, and brags that his cousin belongs to the Martial Arts Association in the provincial capital. The MC looks at his subordinate coldly, pointing out that this guy is way too loud, and shows extreme annoyance at his loud voice. The guy collapses back to the floor after realizing the MC's anger. Tiangang steps up and grabs him like a flimsy rag doll. He lifts him in the air, warning him not to utter a single word. The guy screams in terror as the subordinate tightens his grip on him. The subordinate gets ready to throw him out just as his master ordered. The guy tries to resist and desperately looks for a way out. Then he fearfully declares his total agreement to all the terms, and instantly admits that Su-yun is their absolute boss. At that moment, the arrogant guy gets tossed. He crashes onto the desk right in front of them, and deadly terror takes over the rest of the businessmen in the room. The MC declares that their new group doesn't need useless people. He firmly states that he won't tolerate anyone disrespecting them, and gives them exactly 3 minutes to make their choice, clarifying that whoever wants to stay and be loyal can do so, and whoever chooses to leave must get out immediately. But he threatens that whoever opposes will pay with their life. Everyone quickly raises their hands, declaring their total submission. One of them even offers to invest 200 million right away to prove his loyalty. Their voices rise in praise of boss Su-yun and her decisions. They disown the guy who got thrown, claiming they always hated him. They swear they'll follow her orders to the letter from now on, and pledge to be her loyal followers no matter what she asks. The MC turns to his little girl tenderly and goes back to feeding her ice cream, smiling at her after he just finished terrifying everyone in the room. Su-yun asks everyone to start signing the official contracts, and seriously points out that this acquisition is only the beginning, emphasizing her ambition for future expansion and control. The MC watches the situation calmly, considering what just happened as nothing but a minor scene. He assures his wife she can easily handle these trivial matters. Su-yun decides to appoint the subordinate Tiangang as the head of security for her new company. The subordinate smiles shyly and scratches his head, accepting his new position. The MC receives an urgent message saying that the Medicine King Valley sect has targeted his daughter's kindergarten. His eyes flash with a dangerous glint as he realizes the real threat is closing in. He figures out that the previous situation was just a distraction by some weak bugs. He hands the little girl back to his wife, ready to face the enemies who are practically begging for death. The scene shifts to the gates of the luxurious International Star Kindergarten, where the doctors of the Medicine King Valley have set up a tent offering free checkups for the kids as a cover for their scheme. An elder from the sect is sitting there examining the kids, considering one of them to be just useless trash. He moves on to check another kid, claiming his physical build is weak, diagnosing the kid with blocked energy meridians. He hands down a harsh verdict that this kid won't live past 20, and offers him a fake cure to complete his deceptive act. Su-yun's luxury car pulls up right in front of the kindergarten gate. She steps out, holding her little girl's hand to walk her into school. The kid curiously asks her mom why there's a crowd at the gate. The sly elder's eyes land on the little girl, and he realizes he's found his target. The elder blocks Su-yun's path, trying to talk to her, asking her with fake politeness to stop for a moment. He lies straight to her face while looking at the kid, saying her face shows a sick black aura, slyly pointing out that she looks like she's infected with a malignant disease. He offers to examine the girl himself just to be sure. Soo-yun coldly rejects his offer, confirming her daughter is perfectly healthy. She tries to walk away and ignore this nosy doctor. The elder laughs maliciously, trying to persuade her his way, claiming she's wrong and that spiritual illnesses don't show up easily, insisting that regular hospitals are useless at detecting these kinds of cases. The elder decides to ignore her refusal and quickly reaches out to grab the girl by force. But right at that second, a hand wearing a black glove steps in to forcefully stop him from touching her. The old elder looks completely shocked after his hand is suddenly blocked. One of the guards from the MC's death squad steps in, ordering him to back off instantly. The old man gets furious, disgusted by the interference of this guard he calls a watchdog. He starts revealing his identity, threatening the guard for daring to block his path. He arrogantly points his finger, asking if the guy even realizes who's standing in front of him, proudly announcing that he's one of the grand elders of the almighty Medicine King Valley Sect. The guard just looks at him with a deadpan expression, totally unfazed by the fancy name, coldly replying that he's never even heard of that name before. He gives the old man one last firm warning to get lost or face death. The old man angrily vows revenge, thinking these guards have chosen the path of ruin by refusing to submit. He announces his intention to grant their death wish and teach them a harsh lesson, gearing up to launch his attack on the guards and make good on his threat. He barks an order at his lackeys to jump in immediately and snatch the kid by force. A bunch of bulky fighters rush forward with their weapons drawn, answering his command. The little girl clings to her mom in absolute terror from this sudden ambush. The guard issues a strict order to his squad to protect the lady of the house and her daughter at all costs. Suddenly, the rest of the secret death squad members pop out of the shadows with their blades drawn. The squad executes a lightning-fast strike, landing lethal blows on the old man's fighters. His lackeys drop to the ground in pools of their own blood after the devastating counterattack. All the attackers are wiped out in the blink of an eye, their lifeless bodies collapsing to the ground. The guard stands coldly in front of the stunned old man after massacring his men. He mocks him, sarcastically asking if this is the so-called power of his sect. The old man's eyes burn with insane hatred and fury after his sect is insulted and his men defeated. He rips off his clothes, revealing a terrifying poison tattoo on his chest, unleashing his trump card. He rushes at the guard using his deadly poison palm skill, totally looking down on his opponent's strength, swearing to show them the massive gap between their pathetic power and his supreme strength. He bursts into hysterical laughter, demanding they drop dead before his toxic aura. He stands in the middle of a toxic smoke cloud, flexing his lethal ability, calling his opponents nothing but pigs waiting to be slaughtered by his poison. The guard dashes toward him without a shred of fear, sarcastically asking what kind of ancient martial arts this is supposed to be. The old man is absolutely mind-blown seeing someone grab his toxic palm without taking any damage at all. He wonders in pure shock how his opponent survived this lethal poison. The MC suddenly appears and grabs the old man's hand with total coldness while the guy is still in shock. The old man panics and stammers, asking who the hell this guy is that just appeared out of nowhere. The MC introduces himself with a terrifying smile, saying he's the father of the little girl he just tried to kidnap. He adds with a threatening tone that he's the one who's going to torture him brutally, vowing to turn him into a human candle as punishment. The old man gets furious at the threat and prepares to launch a treacherous sneak attack. He shoots a hidden weapon from his sleeve, threatening the MC with death. The MC easily blocks the projectile and skillfully deflects it right back at him. The deflected projectiles pierce the old man's forehead and eyes, dealing him severe and fatal injuries. He drops to the ground screaming hysterically, clutching his blood-soaked face. He keeps wailing in pain after losing his sight from the ricochet, screaming and vowing that the Medicine King Valley Sect will never forgive him for what he did. The MC praises his guard captain for his quick intervention to protect his family. He orders him to get the injured guards to treatment immediately. He issues a strict command to put the whole area on full lockdown for 10 minutes, emphasizing the need to prevent any pictures or info about what just happened from leaking to the public. The guard captain gives a crisp military salute in total submission, confirming his master's orders will be executed. The MC walks toward the collapsed old man with slow, terrifying steps. He steps ruthlessly on his face to force a confession out of him. He coldly asks him what other factions were involved in this plot besides the Chi family, waiting for his answer with a piercing gaze that leaves no room for dodging. The old man screams, begging for his life and trying to use his status as a shield. He introduces himself as part of the inner circle of the Medicine King Valley, heir to try and scare the MC. He reveals that the sect's heir is currently in the provincial capital with powerful guards. He adds that the heir is protected by a badass fighter known as the Diamond Valley Guard, warning the MC that killing him will only bring destruction upon himself, outright threatening that the MC's entire family will be wiped out if he doesn't let him live. The MC just presses his foot down harder, treating his threats like annoying noise. The old man breaks down from the intense pain and finally starts spilling the beans, He confesses through tears that the Qi family in the capital were the ones who fed them the info. Admitting they were told the little girl's blood is the perfect ingredient for the sect's rituals, he explains that the sect's heir came down specifically to kidnap the kid to break through his martial arts bottleneck. He reveals that the sect members are currently stationed over the ruins of the destroyed Jiao family mansion, adding that they've turned those ruins into their new main headquarters. The MC cracks a demonic smile after finding out the enemy's location, mocking them for choosing such a cursed place as their HQ. He kicks the old man over to his guards, handing down a cruel and humiliating sentence on him, ordering them to turn his body into something like a scarecrow to put on display as a message. He issues an order to send the old man in this pathetic state to the provincial capital, demanding his body be hung from the highest point in the Jiao family ruins as a public warning. The guard captain proceeds to carry the broken old man to execute the orders. The MC orders specific threatening words to be written on his body to strike fear into his enemies, making it clear that the message will read that this is the inevitable fate of anyone who crosses his bottom line. The old man is horrified by the brutality of the sentence and starts screaming hysterically, calling the MC the devil incarnate for how ruthless and merciless he is. He gets dragged away by the guards while still wailing in despair. The MC makes a phone call to a mysterious and highly influential figure. The other party, an old man, takes the call with deep respect and surprise. The old man asks the MC the reason behind this sudden and important call. The MC addresses the guy as Dragon Lord, highlighting his high status. He asks him to deliver a direct threat to the Qi family in the capital, telling him to ask the head of the family to start preparing their coffins for their inevitable death. The MC then shifts to talking about the Medicine King Valley sect with a tone dripping with menace, announcing his clear intention to completely wipe the sect off the map of the empire, emphasizing that he doesn't give a damn about erasing this so-called valley from existence. The Dragon Lord listens to the MC, calling him Ruler of Hell with a serious expression. He warns the MC about the danger, pointing out that the Valley sect has a massive network of allies and influence. The old man is shown on the phone with a serious face, warning about the interference of hidden sects. He anxiously asks if they should take a specific course of action. The MC sharply rebukes the other party for trying to interfere with his decisions and dictate what he should do. The guy apologizes in absolute terror, assuring him he'd never dare to overstep. He pledges in total submission to carry out the required orders right away. The scene cuts to show the total devastation left at the ruins of the Jiao family mansion. The shot reveals a mysterious young guy chilling on a white sofa right in the middle of the rubble. It's revealed that this young man is the young master of the Medicine King Valley sect, Jun Wuxi. He talks with a wicked smile about the little girl named Nian, expressing his insane greed, believing the kid's blood is going to be incredibly sweet. Helicopters appear hovering in the city sky to deliver a mysterious package, announcing that this hanging black bag is a welcome gift sent directly from the Emperor of Hell. The mysterious bag is tossed heavily onto the table right in front of the arrogant young master and his men. The contents of the bag are revealed to be the mutilated body of the third Grand Elder of the Medicine King Valley. The gruesome scene of the horribly tortured elder's body is shown. The young master expresses his initial shock upon seeing this horrific sight. His shock gradually turns into hysterical laughter, showing obvious signs of insanity. He stares with eyes glinting with pure evil as he processes the challenge, expressing his twisted admiration for this bloody challenge, saying this is a good thing. He confirms with a malicious grin that he really likes this development, wondering with amusement how many years it's been since he faced a situation like this, adding that ever since he was born and made a name for himself in this world, he's never seen a challenge like this, arrogantly confirming that no one has ever dared to mess with him in such an insulting way before. He declares that as long as his opponent wants to play, he'll play along, deciding he'll take the reins of this battle himself, vowing to keep this deadly game going until its inevitable end. He issues a firm order for his men to start making their move, ordering them to gather precise and comprehensive info on this guy called Chen Junlin, demanding to know all of his opponent's recent moves and activities. A hulking subordinate kneels in front of his master, ready to deliver his report. He reports that a major event is going down the very next morning, explaining that it has to do with Chen Junlin's wife, Su Yun, adding that this event will be held right in the heart of Yun City. The subordinate confirms that the wife is hosting an official launch party for her new corporate group. The young master mockingly and wickedly asks about this launch party, expressing complete satisfaction with this golden opportunity for revenge, announcing his malicious intent to turn their happy celebration into a bloody funeral, bragging that ruining happy moments is one of the things he enjoys most. He orders his subordinate to leave and start putting the plan into action, directing his men to prepare a terrifying gift fit for this party, noting that the execution will be tomorrow, savagely vowing that he'll use Su Yun's skin as an instrument, announcing his horrific intent to make a large drum out of her human skin, planning for this gruesome drum to be used during the launch party, imagining himself beating on this bloody drum in front of everyone. explaining that the goal of these brutal acts is to provoke Chen Junlin and smoke him out, vowing he'll force his opponent to kneel before him in humiliation. He finishes his threat by saying he'll make him watch helplessly as he goes after his daughter, openly stating his sick intention to drain the kid's blood drop by drop to make his magical medicine. The scene shifts to an office room where a subordinate confirms everything is going according to plan, reporting to his boss that the gift was successfully delivered to the target, adding that the other party completely lost their minds with rage after getting the gift, noting that the opponent completely obliterated the corpse that was sent to them. The MC, Chen Junlin, is shown calmly reading a book, considering his enemy's anger a good thing. He deduces from reading a parenting book that anger leads to recklessness, completing his thought that extreme rage is what drives enemies to make fatal mistakes, confirming with a hardened expression that the second his enemies slip up, he'll make his move, deciding that he'll then have all the justification he needs to completely exterminate their sect and wipe them out of existence. The scene cuts to the Grand Plaza where his wife's corporate launch party is being held. Su Yun shows intense nervousness and fear, keeping her from stepping onto the stage. The MC holds his wife's trembling hands, trying to reassure her. He advises her to ignore the crowd and just imagine them as heads of cabbage to calm her nerves. Nian innocently calls out to her dad, interrupting him, cutly mentioning that she doesn't like the taste of the cabbage her dad just brought up, adding that she'd rather eat carrots instead, which totally lightens the mood. Su Yun gives a soft smile after her husband and daughter's words successfully ease her anxiety. The MC walks out of the room with a serious face and calls for his loyal subordinate, Tiangang. The subordinate, disguised in a security guard uniform, replies, confirming his presence and readiness for orders. He points out with furious eyes that enemies have arrived bringing nothing but deadly intentions. He orders his subordinate to open the doors and welcome these enemies his own way, stressing with a terrifying smile that they shouldn't keep these unwanted guests waiting. Su Yun appears on stage, giving a thank you speech to everyone attending the launch, officially announcing the launch and establishment of her new corporate group to the crowd. The men from the Medicine King Valley sect crash the party carrying something huge and covered as a gift. The cover is ripped off to reveal a hulking man carrying a massive bronze bell as a cursed gift, which in their culture is a blatant death threat. The shockwave from the bell actually hurts the attendees, causing their ears to bleed. Panic spreads among the guests as they realize it's an assassination attempt, and they start making a run for it. Su Yun freezes in place, shocked and terrified by this sudden attack. The MC's black-clad guards suddenly pop out, standing like a human shield to protect their lady. The Emperor of Hell's Death Squad draws their weapons, ready for a full-on clash. The squad dashes at breakneck speed, one after the other, to attack the Valley Sect's men. The guard captain charges forward with a fierce and violent assault on the enemies, engaging in brutal hand-to-hand combat with the hulking guy carrying the bell. The huge man delivers a crushing blow that sends him flying through the air. He crashes down hard and violently onto the ground in immense pain from the sheer force of the hit, puking blood as he realizes his strength is nowhere near this terrifying opponent's level. The crowd is stunned after realizing the attacker is using an advanced internal energy release technique. One guy screams out, warning everyone that the huge attacker is a Grandmaster-level martial artist. The fighter lifts the massive bell, threatening to smash it right down on Su Yun's head to end her life. The young master's lackeys announce their arrival to crash the Yun group's party. They arrogantly declare that they brought a massive bell as an ominous gift. They mock the attendees, claiming this terrifying gift is a reward for the company. The giant bronze bell is violently thrown towards the stage where the wife is standing. She freezes in place, shock and terror written all over her face at this sudden attack. The loyal subordinate suddenly steps in, jumping onto the stage to protect the lady of the house. He stomps the ground so hard it creates deep cracks. He blocks the massive bell with his tough body and stops it dead in its tracks. He spits on the ground, showing absolute contempt for the attackers. Surprised, he admits his opponent has insane physical strength. He glares at his foe, wondering if he's a physical martial arts expert. He shows surprise at how easily the lackey took his devastating blow, smirking wickedly and finding this sudden challenge interesting. The two giant fighters stand face to face in a tense showdown in front of everyone. The attacker rudely belittles the subordinate, calling him nothing but a guard dog. The lackey's body erupts in a fiery, angry aura in response to this insult. He proudly reveals his true identity as a military commander of the Northern Army. He threatens the attackers, saying he specializes in wiping out fake gods like them. Two more enemy guys step up carrying a huge black coffin. The enemies realize their opponent actually belongs to the top military forces. They mock the lackey, thinking his military background explains his brute strength, and suddenly, the coffin is smashed from the inside, and the young master emerges from it. He stands firmly on the coffin with a look full of arrogance and superiority. He shoots a cold glare at the wife to terrify her. He threatens her with a wicked smile, saying she'll experience the true meaning of torture. The wife stands behind the stage, shaking with extreme fear and tension. He asks her with a demonic smile if she's ready to live a life worse than death. The crowd watches in horror and dead silence after this threat. The MC suddenly appears on the scene, carrying his little girl in his arms. He walks up with confident steps to stand face to face with the arrogant guy. The white-haired guy mockingly questions the MC's identity, pointing out his ordinary looks. He observes the MC closely, initially thinking he's just a weak guy. He scornfully notices the complete lack of internal energy in his body. He stupidly and hastily concludes that the MC is just worthless trash. The MC completely ignores him, deciding to secure his wife and kid first before starting the fight. He calls out to his wife calmly amidst all this chaos. He gently asks her to take the kid and head to the car right away. He tells her to turn the music up in the car to the max volume. He explains that he doesn't want his innocent daughter to hear the sounds of these enemies getting slaughtered. She looks at him with deep concern, realizing how dangerous the situation is. She asks him to be super careful before walking away with her daughter. The white-haired guy gets mad that the MC is ignoring him and decides to stop him from doing as he pleases. He arrogantly declares that no one gets to leave without his personal permission. He yells angrily, asking who dares to defy his orders here. He raises his hand, giving a strict order to his hidden forces to open fire. Dozens of hidden archers pop up, confirming it's a pre-planned ambush. Thousands of deadly arrows rain down all at once toward the MC. He calmly utters a single word, commanding the arrows to stop. The thick cloud of arrows suddenly freezes in midair right before hitting him. It looks like time itself completely stopped in the face of his absolute power. The giant fighter's eyes go wide with shock and horror seeing the suspended arrows. He stammers, wondering what kind of terrifying power stopped the attack. He initially thinks the MC is using an advanced internal energy shield to protect himself. He quickly drops that thought after realizing the terrifying truth. He finds out this shield is just air pressure created by the MC's pure physical strength. The MC coldly raises his hand, getting ready to return the attack to its senders. He declares with dead calm that he's returning their gift. The frozen arrows reverse direction, shooting back with immense force at the archers. All the enemy snipers drop dead in seconds, pierced by their own arrows. The white-haired guy stands there stunned and helpless, watching his forces get wiped out this easily. He finally realizes the guy standing in front of him possesses power beyond imagination. Shocked, he admits the MC is no ordinary person like he first thought. Terrified, he asks if the MC really reached the Grandmaster level. The MC looks at him with pure disdain and mockery at this question. He scoffs at the title, considering it a label for low levels and weaklings. He sarcastically asks how he dares to use such a pathetic title on him. The white-haired guy snaps in anger and orders his elite fighters to gang up and attack. He screams at his men, ordering them to tear the MC apart and kill him instantly. The 4 fighters known as the Iron Corpses of Medicine King Valley step up to execute the order. They rush at the MC, wielding their deadly weapons in a coordinated attack. Their leader promises to make him taste the agony of their sect's killing array. The MC coldly delivers just a single bare-handed strike at them. Their combo attacks instantly crumble, and their bodies go flying from the devastating blow. The last fighter completely loses his mind seeing his comrades drop like flies. He breaks down in tears, panicking and begging the MC not to kill him. The MC grabs the giant fighter by the neck and lifts him in the air one-handed. He mocks him, scornfully asking if these are the guys who claim to be earthly gods. The white-haired guy is left speechless watching his minions get crushed right in front of him. The MC mercilessly snaps the fighter's neck, ending his life in a blink. He collapses onto the coffin, totally broken and losing every ounce of his pride. He stares at the MC in horror, eyes full of fear at this ruthless monster. He screams hysterically, asking for the true identity of this terrifying being. He desperately tries to use his status as a final shield to save his life. He introduces himself as the young master of the valley, bragging that his dad is an imperial-level expert to scare the MC. The young man arrogantly announces he has a magical tool protecting him from any attack. He cockily claims no one can touch or challenge him. He keeps bragging, claiming even the gods have to bow down to him in submission. The MC just coldly says one word, commanding it to break. The defensive magic tool instantly shatters into scattered pieces before the MC's power. The arrogant young man's shoulder is hit by an unknown force piercing his defenses. He screams at the top of his lungs in pain from the brutal surprise hit. The MC lands a solid, direct kick, dropping him to the ground effortlessly. The defeated guy falls right into the black coffin he brought himself. The MC sarcastically tells him that since he loves coffins so much, he can have this one. He coldly orders him to lie down in the coffin and not come out, and he passes a final judgment that starting today, he won't ever leave it. He decides this coffin will become his permanent home. The MC tightly seals the coffin lid over the panicked young man inside. He orders his men to step up and nail the coffin shut securely. He orders the coffin to be hung on Yun City's gate as a warning. The MC orders his lackey to send a harsh warning message to the Chi family. He tells him to send the exact same warning to the Medicine King Valley Sect. He directs his message to include all the enemies and cowards hiding in the dark. He challenges them all to come to Yun City if they have the guts to face him. Lightning flashes in the sky behind the MC in a scene reflecting his anger and terrifying power. The bodies of the defeated enemies are left scattered around the coffin on the battlefield. The subordinate tells his master he got an urgent, important phone call from the capital. He hands the phone to the MC to listen to the caller who calls him by his name. The frantic caller asks the MC if he lost his mind with his latest actions. He warns him that his actions are practically an open declaration of war against the entire martial arts world. The MC coldly dismisses this, asking what war they're even talking about. He belittles them, scornfully asking if they even deserve the honor of fighting him. He vows that as long as they consider themselves invincible gods in this world, he will break their egos and shatter their pride today. He swears he will challenge this very sky they hide behind, and he promises to punch a hole in this sky and bring it crashing down on their heads. The scene cuts to the lackey standing with a giant hammer in front of the coffin. He mocks the spoiled young man who's used to living in fancy mansions. He sarcastically invites him to try out this tight, dark home as his punishment. The young man shakes inside the coffin, screaming hysterically and rejecting this dark fate. He desperately tries to threaten the lackey to stop him from sealing the coffin on him. He screams his name and high status, hoping to scare him, and brags that his dad is the supreme leader of the Medicine King Valley Sect. The lackey ignores all his threats and begging with a stern, merciless look. He swings the giant hammer to nail down and brutally slam the coffin shut. Annoyed by the young man's constant screaming, the lackey calls him annoying. He calls his men after sealing it tight to execute the rest of his master's orders. He orders his soldiers to carry this heavy coffin and head to its destination, directing them to hang it high on Yun City's south gate for everyone to see. The coffin is hung with a bloody sign next to it, warning anyone who crosses the line with certain death. Journalists and media gather to film this terrifying and shocking scene. The scene shifts to an angry man violently smashing a teacup to show his intense frustration. This man turns out to be the leader of the highly influential Chi family. He stares at his phone in disbelief, calling what he sees absolute madness. He reads the photo news about the coffin and concludes the MC has totally lost his mind. The news circulates the identity of the guy trapped in the coffin, confirming it's the sect's young master. The media wonders in shock what kind of terrifying entity dared to insult the sect like this. The family leader furiously throws his phone, cursing the MC for his reckless actions. He boils with rage over this blatant challenge threatening the stability of their influence. The scene cuts back to the MC calmly cooking at home while his kid watches him innocently. The wife affectionately calls her name as she approaches him in the kitchen. She hugs him from behind, expressing her deep concern about today's events. She fearfully asks if the enemies will manage to kidnap their daughter, Nian. The MC firmly reassures her while he keeps cooking, promising that will never happen. He turns to her to emphasize that no power in the world can snatch her daughter from her. He hugs her tenderly, making a solid promise to protect them no matter the cost. At the Chi family headquarters, the family spy kneels, terrified, asking what their next move is. He confirms that the Medicine King Valley Sect already knows about this catastrophic insult. He expresses his fear that the sect will unleash its wrath and revenge on them. The leader firmly shuts him up, refusing to hear any more of this discouraging talk. He plays down the MC, believing that hanging a coffin won't be enough to scare him. He calls him naive for thinking these flashy tricks would work on them. The leader looks out the window confidently, pointing out that they live in a country ruled by laws. He mockingly asks if the MC's physical strength will save him from the rule of law. He admits they might be in a weak spot militarily right now, so he decides to change the rules of the game and use other dirty tactics. He issues a strict order to start executing his backup plan to frame the MC. He directs them to use all their connections and massive government influence in the province. He orders all those corrupt officials to be sent to Yun City immediately. He orders his underling to frame the MC's wife's company with organized crime charges, demanding the new company be shut down and sealed instantly based on these fake charges. He also orders the MC to be arrested and thrown in jail to tame him. He sarcastically challenges the MC, waiting to see if he dares to rebel. He scoffs, wondering if he'd dare to hang these government officials too as punishment. The underling nods in agreement, getting ready to head out and execute these malicious orders. A notification from Intel confirms the enemies fell right into the trap. They inform the MC about the arrival of a joint investigation committee sent specifically from the capital. It's revealed that the head of this committee is the general director of the Provincial Industry and Commerce Administration. The MC listens calmly to the report while peeling an apple, recognizing the official's name. He sarcastically concludes this official is nothing but a loyal lapdog for the Chi family. The MC nods, understanding the situation, while putting his earpiece in. He calmly asks about the whereabouts of his loyal subordinate Tiangang, gearing up for the next move. He issues a decisive order through the comms for his lackey to make an immediate move. With a subtle smile, he tells him it's time to get to work and crush these intruders. The MC coldly warns his opponent not to get blood on the floor, explaining that his wife can't stand the smell of blood. A bunch of official government cars pull up to the Yunnian Company headquarters. The bulky government official orders his men to surround the company and lock down the doors immediately. He issues a strict order banning anyone from entering or leaving the building. He directs his guys to confiscate all the computers and accounting books, emphasizing the need to search and seize everything, even the most useless papers, for the investigation. His men rush in quickly to storm the building and carry out these abusive orders against the company.